10 million li away in the direction of the Azure Dragon territories southeast, there was a verdant and lush mountain range. This mountain chain was endless and unbroken. Looking from 100 li away, a practically limitless oily green could be seen. The fresh and green verdant forest reached a height of 40 to 50 zhang, just like swords stuck into the world, hardly giving cultivators any room to place their feet. With every gust of wind, the bamboo forest produced a sweet-sounding bamboo sound, like a favorite musical instrument, and doing so gracefully. The outside 1,000 li seemingly could hear a, "You are a silent black and white," tone. Make people unable to forget me. This place was Greencorn Mountain. 2. One of the Azure Dragon territory's 5 elements mountain ranges. On this day, a fire beacon chariot arrived above Greencorn Mountain. Due to the bamboo forest being excessively hidden in addition to the Greencorn Mountain being too high to reach, the fire beacon chariot could only stop a bit further away. The chariot had 4 girls currently looking into the distance at that mountain's indigo color. This is Greencorn Mountain. The girl wearing a light purple palace dress spoke in awe. Passing through and into this pair of clear eyes was an emerald green spectacular to the limit. Sister Xinjie, does this place really have suppressing evil gem bamboo? Another girl clad in a black skin-tight jumpsuit twitched her lips. The others directed their gaze to look at the woman between them who had planned this. These 5 were Lin Yingmei, Wu Xinjie, Shi Yuan, and An Suan. 3. The reason they would come to Greencorn Mountain was to trace and help Lin Yingmei go look for ice kite Arctic jade, but this sort of jade itself was scarce. Wu Xinjie then thought to change their approach to look for a star general, the rank 66th jade-armed craftsman Jin Deijian. This star general's greatest strength was in carving precious stones. If Tang Lianxin was said to be an absolute in tool refining, then Jin Deijian was number 1 in jade refinement. If they had her help, Lin Yingmei's ice kite Arctic jade would be very easy, let alone that Wu Xinjie had never not had the idea to assemble the sisters together. But unfortunately, that Jin Deijian had vanished without a trace, so Wu Xinjie and the girls borrowed Tang Lianxin's fire beacon chariot to continuously search, reaching the Azure Dragon territory's borderline. They heard nothing, though they actually did encounter several star generals. When they arrived here, Wu Xinjie recalled that material the wood element sword Su Xing was forging required was suppressing gem bamboo. Although Heavenly Gem Valley was a rumor, the fact was that Green Shushan was a precious place with an abundance of suppressing evil gem bamboo. Wu Xinjie then put forward her own opinion. To be able to help Su Xing find the materials for the flying sword, all the girls naturally would not oppose. This place unexpectedly completely is bamboo. Lin Yingmei's brow rose, somewhat surprised. As far as the eye could see, the bamboo forest became an ocean, the fresh green reaching the heavens. Unexpectedly, they could not see any other types of vegetation. The bamboo forest was quiet, serene, and deep. It gave people a sort of intoxication of tranquility to the limit, making people completely forget their worries. This place is all metal stone thread bamboo, 5, but it is very formidable. We need to be careful. Wu Xinjie reminded the to definitely not be fooled by the outer appearance of this bamboo forest. The metal stone thread bamboo was one sort of strange bamboo of Liangshan continent. This bamboo's appearance seemed ordinary, but it would vibrate to produce a sweet-sounding tone in response to sound. These tones were absolutely not ordinary, and every type of tuning would directly enter a cultivator's heart, making the cultivator give rise to an unprecedented sense of satisfaction. So long as a cultivator's mind was not sufficient to suppress it, they would be incapable of sobering up, and they would be imprisoned by the thread bamboo's magic sound, dying in bliss. It was for this reason this metal stone thread bamboo was also called peace and happiness bamboo. 6. Furthermore, the Greencorn Mountain in front of them had at least 1,000,000 peace and happiness bamboo. The sound of wind brushing past would give rise to the magic sound, so Greencorn Mountain could be considered Liangshan continent's most tranquil place. Even supercluster cultivators were unwilling to stay at this place for long. Encountering a slight breeze was fine, but if they should meet a strong wind or a hurricane, this serene bamboo sound would immediately be more pressing than King Yama. Supercluster cultivators were hard-pressed to stop this alone. Hearing Wu Xingjia's explanation, Shi Yuan felt that the quiet environment before her had become more dreadful than a tomb. 7. Although star generals naturally possessed extraordinary star energy and that something like an actual hurricane would not make them lose their bearings, they could not avoid being affected. Wu Xingjie remembered a previous star duel had a star general fall at Greencorn Mountain. But star falling here is quite comfortable. Shi Yuan giggled. Wu Xingjie shook her head and was silent. Actually, there were many star generals that knew the star duels were hopeless, and they chose to eternally rest at Greencorn Mountain. We shall search at Greencorn Mountain, see whether or not we can find the suppressing evil gem bamboo. Greencorn Mountain is rich in Liangshan continent's most luxurious wood-type materials. With so many years having come and gone, the suppressing evil gem bamboo should have that many stalks. Wu Xingjie brimmed with self-confidence. If we can find the suppressing evil gem bamboo, Su Xing definitely will be startled. Shi Yuan was in a fantasy, having obtained several hundred stalks of suppressing evil gem bamboo as she watched Su Xing's dumbfounded expression. What a pity that this is such a beautiful place. Big brother would definitely like it. And Suan sighed. The other girls deeply held the same feeling, and they could not help but smile. This young master of theirs nearly treasured very unusually some of Liangshan's peculiar sights and landscapes, as if he forever could not get enough looking at them. This young lady actually really misses Su Xing. This young lady wonders how he and Wu Song are in the Vermilion Bird territory. Little Yi should have converged with Su Xing by now. Shi Yuan appeared to panic. Separated by a distance of tens of millions of li, this made the thief star feel her heart was missing a bit of something. She had even thought of might as well using the suicide method to directly find Su Xing. After the second stage passed, regardless of how far apart a star general and her master were, so long as she died, she would instantly return to the star nest anyways. It was just that this was too lacking in face, and Shi Yuan certainly did not want Su Xing to always joke about her. Wu Xingjie laughed into her sleeve. Suddenly, she saw Lin Yingmei also was somewhat staring blankly. Yingmei, do you also miss young lord? Your servant just now seemed to have seen a figure in this place just now. Lin Yingmei knit her brow. A cultivator? And Suan asked. Maybe it's a demon beast. Shi Yuan said. Places like Greencorn Mountain with terrain abundant in spirit also often had many demon beasts in existence. Be careful. Wu Xingjie said. N. Gesturing with her hand, the fire beacon chariot took flight at Greencorn Mountain. Greencorn Mountain was extremely large, its ravines and cliffs innumerable. It was completely a span of green that would dazzle the eyes. The sound of wind gradually rose, and the thread bamboo sounds were endless, as if that ninth heaven Brahman sung it. It was also just like an ancient clear sound that gradually disturbed the mind. Wu Xingjie and the rest did not dare be careless, and they circulated their star energy to calm their minds. Approximately several hours later, this big of a forest did not have an end in sight. The people inside this firmament's bamboo forest had a type of extremely minuscule feeling. Suddenly, a massive bamboo was reflected in Shi Yuan's eyes. The thief stars were like a torch, instantaneously discerning all the differences in this bamboo. It was a sparkling and translucent jadeite, with greenish-blue droplets. When the metal stone thread bamboo produced its dull metallic light along with the sound of wind, only this bamboo concealed in the green grove was like a shy girl. Suppressing evil gem bamboo. Shi Yuan shouted in pleasant surprise. It was just as Wu Xingjie thought. Greencorn Mountain was a precious place for spirit bamboo, and one or two growing in several hundred years was not strange. However, that suppressing evil gem bamboo was hidden within a forest of millions of bamboo. It really was not too easy to find if one was inattentively searching. The fire beacon chariot descended towards it, and as they drew increasingly near, this bamboo was increasingly simple. On the bamboo, there were indistinct naturally markings. These simple and unadorned markings made this bamboo seem to brim with a noble air, releasing a spirit fragrance. This was the standard of suppressing evil gem bamboo, evil suppressing marks. 8. Just at this moment, in an instant, the light breeze was suddenly violent, the horizon composing a song. They heard only a burst of melodious flute music that seemingly came from those prehistoric times, continuous and winding, lasting and rising, full of a fearsome magic energy. The metal stone thread bamboo here suddenly had been half resonated by this flute sound. The dull golden light abruptly strove for splendor against the sun, and a touching flute note like a sharp sword firmly passed through their hearts. Wu Xinjie, Lin Yingmei, and the rest already had defenses, but they did not expect that this flute would be like a flood of 1,000 li. It rolled uninterrupted, instantly tearing the defenses in their hearts to shreds. The peace and happiness bamboo simultaneously flutter as the song drifted from the horizon. Seemingly, there were countless fairies fluttering around them, composing a song. Following the undulations in the timbre of this flute sound, that wave-like flute sound was even more violent in its constant changes. Unexpectedly, it made the star generals incapable of withstanding it. This is dark rank star magic. Wu Xinjie's expression changed, and she immediately heard the origins of this flute. At this moment, Greencorn Mountain, that span of tens of thousands of bamboo forests of concentrated green seemingly resonated, becoming a natural array. Perhaps this world had no other tuning array that could currently be stronger than this. The flute's sound was agile, yet it was completely unable to be completely expelled from the heart. The fire beacon chariot fell amidst the flute's song. Who? Associated in the wake of this flute sound entering their hearts, the sound of a chilly wind also came over. Clang clang. Lin Yingmei's spear was raised, intercepting the attack. The newcomer was a girl in green clothes. She was blank with surprise, her lips chanting. More than 40 golden bamboo flying swords combined into one with clanging. Wu Xinjie and the rest fell into the forest. Lin Yingmei had that snow-winged cicada bodice, so she could glide in combat. Gritting her teeth, the Arctic star serpent's spear immediately was waved. A cold light brushed away the flying sword, and the majestic star flashed towards the woman with a stab. Panther head Lin Chong. The woman cried out in alarm and did not dare be the slightest bit neglectful, her white hands forming hand seals. The flute noise was all the more resounding, and the entire bamboo sea from far away echoed seemingly to the grounds of that far-off prehistory. Lin Yingmei violently vomited a mouthful of blood. The woman saw this, and completely without hesitation, she slashed with the golden bamboo flying sword. Lin Yingmei flipped to the side, evading. Lin Chong, accept death. The woman shouted. The flute sound invading her mind incessantly engulfed Lin Yingmei's star energy, the girl continuously retreating. Sister Yingmei, quickly go kill that person, leave her to us. Shi Yuan and Ensuan blocked the woman's attack. I never thought there would be this many star generals, do not think any of you can run. The woman snorted. A riding sword was above her, and her forehead had a green star twinkle. Astonishingly, she was a star master. She threw out a bamboo tube, and this bamboo tube sprayed out a clear chi onto the flying sword. The flying sword sharply expanded, its imposing aura even more fierce. Several dozen flying swords suddenly formed into more than 100 that went to cover her. 108 heavenly bamboo sword array. 9, go. Lin Yingmei wanted to counterattack, but that deep valley's flute sound was honestly too taxing. If it was not a weapon, it was something even better that made the girls simply incapable of forming an effective defense. A boom descended. The sky filled with bamboo trees lifted in waves. In the wake of the massive scorpion stone pillar collapsing with a boom, they had again sacrificed numerous cultivators. Su Xing's group finally could be considered to have destroyed the Scorpion Desert's second 5 poisons array point. The barren landscape was like rolling waves, a barren that was each built into a meter in size by Pipa poison scorpions. 10. The blood-red Calicera and that dazzling tail needle seemed to be very frightening. After entering the Scorpion's desert, they were thoroughly incapable of riding swords. Everyone could only madly dash across the desert. If they sunk into quicksand, then they were dead for certain. Su Xing suddenly had a headache, and his expression slightly changed. What is the matter? Wu Siyou looked at Su Xing's startled expression in complete confusion. Even if they encountered the poison scorpion desert's Pipa Empress scorpion, there was no need for him to be this shocked, that she was slightly worried. Su Xing shook his head, his brow tightly knitting together. Lady Snake Scorpion stood at the highest hall of the Jade Alum Palace amid obscure and dense fog, boundless. Due to activating 5 Poisons Mountain's forbid dance, this dense fog had then concentrated to the peak. Even the Lady Snake Scorpion who was an expert in goo poisons could not pass through it. Little Diao and Little Chan stood around her. The twin-tailed scorpion Xia Chan that had just finished recovering in the star nest was still somewhat weak, her complexion pale. Gone were her former high spirits, and in her eyes was an additional trace of hatred. These Azure Dragon Territory cultivators actually came. Lady Snake Scorpion's pupils were ice-cold. The entire 5 Poisons Mountains forbid dance took 10 years to specially construct, layer upon layer of 5 poisons. The moment the forbid dance activated, ordinary cultivators that entered would die without doubt. Furthermore, Lady Snake Scorpion at this time distinctly sensed that 5 Poisons Mountains array points were being broken bit by bit. Kill these annoying bastards. Little Chan's silvery teeth were about to be ground to pieces. Mother, shall we notify that man? Little Diao expressionlessly inquired. There is still no need for that trouble yet. Lady Snake Scorpion's biggest worry was still that cultivator who had escaped from the Rock Demon King's hands, because it seemed from Little Chan's words that that cultivator was seemingly only Galaxy initial stage in cultivation. If it was like this, that was too shocking. However, a Galaxy cultivator could not possibly be this abnormal. Lady Snake Scorpion surmised this should be that Enviless of the East. Zhong Qi. 2. Lady Snake Scorpion suddenly said. A lanky and stern man emerged like a ghost. Lady, what command do you have? 5 Poisons Mountain perhaps cannot stand against that Enviless of the East. At that time, this queen must trouble you. Lady Snake Scorpion said. N. Zhong Qi nodded, as if handling a supervoid cultivator did not count as anything at all. Hearing him speak as such, Lady Snake Scorpion exhaled. This Zhong Qi was a kindred spirit, 3, of the Rock Demon King. Reportedly, he was a terrifying White Tiger territory cultivator. His cultivation was incomprehensible that even the Rock Demon King was reverent of him. Having him handle Enviless of the East, Lady Snake Scorpion was more reassured. Then, Lady Snake Scorpion walked into the top hall's center. In the center of a black magic circle, several black array banners floated. The array banners were painted with the totems of 5 poisons, and 2 sides were already damaged. Lady Snake Scorpion beckoned with her hand, and a black-clawed toad banner flew before Lady Snake Scorpion. Several hundred demi-soldiers below the Jade Alum Palace assembled into the 5 poisons great array. The black banners in their hands flapped continuously as they walked at a mysterious pace. Just let the toad Black River become the place you bury your bones. Lady Snake Scorpion watched the banner before her. She formed a hand seal and coldly smiled. Passing by the scorpion's barrenness, what appeared before Su Xing's group was a boundless, massive sea. This sea was a uniform ink-like black. From the foul-smelling black qi that rose out from the sea, one look told that this contained powerful poison. Many lotus leaves floated on the sea's surface. The lotus leaves being soaked in the Black River all year round had dyed them black. This sea was incomparably immense, and due to them not being able to use flight, the faces of all the cultivators changed when they saw such a large black river. This has got to be a joke. Over this kind of poison river, how can we cross it? Death without doubt. This is fundamentally impassable. Ancestor Qianli was displeased and said, "What are you shouting about? Could it be that you did not see those lotus leaves? Everyone need not be anxious. We only need to step on these lotus leaves, and then we can cross." Taoist Master Qing Lian slightly smiled. Can that lotus leaf support a person? Some cultivators changed expressions. Su Xing watched as Ancestor Qianli's expression brimmed with a mocking expression that was anything but reassuring. As expected, Ancestor Qianli easily flipped his hand, lifting that cultivator that talked, and a gale directly sent him flying over. The cultivator turned pale with fright. His body fell and could only stand on one of the lotus leaves. Panicked and standing up in doubt, the lotus leaf seemingly could not hold and rocked a bit, scaring this cultivator into nearly tumbling. Only after seeing that it could steadily and smoothly support a single person did he finally breathe a sigh of relief. Everyone, please cross first. However, this is the Toad Black River. Beneath the river resides the black claw toad. Be careful of their poison tongues, and you will be able to pass. Taoist Master Qing Lian slightly smiled. That smile of respectful invitation made people feel that it brimmed with a dagger chilling to the bone. However, that black claw toad will naturally be handled by this Taoist master and Ancestor Qianli behind you. You must be very careful. Su Xing, hold tight your wife and stay here, and then follow this Taoist master across together. Taoist Master Qinglian faintly said. Ancestor Qianli also called out to Fang Xiangu. That black lotus can only support 1 or 2 people. Safety being the purpose, your star generals had better return first. It will do for me to follow cousin. Zheng Yanran twitched her lips. Gong Sun Huang kissed Su Xing's cheek. Her body was feeble, and this black river's poison gas was vile, making her unwilling to stay. Su Xing cast an inquisitive gaze to Wu Siyou. Wu Siyou's cool and elegant eyes were saying, do not think you can do that. Su Xing shrugged his shoulders. He had wanted to say something when he suddenly heard the sound of something falling into water. The cultivator that had been sent flying by Ancestor Qianli had originally thought to step across this Toad Black River in a single spurt of energy. The beginning was rather smooth, but stepping on a lotus leaf after 100 meters, that lotus leaf could not sustain his weight and sunk. That poison water was seemingly 1,000 caddies heavy, for that cultivator that fell into the river unexpectedly could not struggle free in any way and desperately sunk before everyone's eyes. The expressions of all the cultivators present simultaneously changed. The cultivators that had originally wanted to move to the next lotus leaf momentarily stood still in terror as they looked at the 2 ancestors. A cultivator had wanted to retreated, and it was at this time that the 2 ancestors' true colors were finally revealed. That cultivator that had wanted to return was shook back by a palm from Ancestor Qianli. Senior! Everyone shouted in fright. For the next part, we thank everyone for their trouble finding a path. Ancestor Qianli gave an evil grin. Some of these Black River lotus leaves are incapable of supporting cultivators. We ask that everyone find a path that crosses the river. Several dozen cultivators changed expressions one after the other. These words of Ancestor Qianli's clearly showed he wanted to buy the path using the lives of the cultivators, to go personally test these, to step on top of these safe and sound naturally was passable while sinking naturally was a dead end. Although this type of method was very cruel, it nevertheless was the most effective method. Seniors are immensely powerful adepts, there is no need to be this difficult, snap. A bold cultivator had wanted to use soft words to plead for a way out, but he had not yet finished speaking when Ancestor Qianli impatiently extended an arm and pointed. Several bolts of blooming water divine thunder flying swords appeared out of thin air, chopping off that cultivator's head. Everyone lost the color in their faces. Taoist Master Qing Lian had the cool eyes of a bystander, not caring at all. What did you think we wanted you for? What are cultivations like yours even capable of? Ancestor Qianli strangely laughed. Soon after, he asked, right now, you are to offer to this ancestor a portion of your time. Afterwards, this ancestor will not treat you unfairly. Any suggestions? Absolute silence. Everyone simply stared at each other. At this time, they had chosen to sink. That cultivator's headless corpse still gurgled with blood. It went limp and collapsed where it was, the blood splashing over the ground. His end was displayed in their eyes. These sect ancestors from the start had planned this, so who would dare have objections? Although everyone was unwilling, they could only inwardly swallow bitter fruit. Could it be that we cannot go test which lotus flowers can support a person? Su Xing wrinkled his brow and asked. He somewhat disliked their methods. Ancestor Qianli's gaze brimmed with ridicule. If you are capable, then go test them, so long as you can find a bridge. For the purpose of fairness, this Taoist master proposes for everyone to separately find a path, alternating your advance. This way, we can avert casualties. Taoist Master Qing Lian slowly said. Everyone secretly fumed at these old farts. Fairness, your mother. You frauds. The cultivators that had originally been taking joy in Su Xing's misfortune of contracting a trash star general genuinely wished they could substitute. Su Xing and Fang Xiangu had actually happened upon good fortune. Due to surprisingly being accepted by the two ancestors as disciples, it was for this reason they were not required to pathfind. However, Su Xing completely had no doubts that if these cultivators were to all die on the road, these two ancestors' so-called master and disciple camaraderie would die for the sake of the master. Ancestor Qianli already began to call out the names of the cultivators one after another to go pathfind. A galaxy late-stage male cultivator at this time hopped onto the 500th flower. In front of him were several dozen lotus flowers soaking on the Black River. From the surface, it was incomparably calm. He basically could not see concealed dangers. His eyes attentively gazed ahead, seemingly utilizing his divine sense to discern which of these lotus flowers could support his ate. For a long time, he did not step out. Seeing him this careful, Ancestor Qianli impatiently said, "Do not waste your thoughts. If we could see things, would we still have made you open a path? Do not squander our time. At this moment, you can only submit to the will of heaven. Everything depends on luck, hurry, and go." The male cultivator grit his teeth. Shortly after, he chose a relatively larger lotus that was 50 paces away from him. The lotus flower was full, seemingly capable of holding some weight. Grasping a sword array, the cultivator pounced towards that lotus flower. Moving at this time over the Black River, he could only rely on his own body techniques. In the case these black lotuses sunk, then he simply could not drag himself away. In ordinary times, light movements body techniques could display surprising efficacy. Tada! 5. The male cultivator's two legs stepped onto that lotus leaf, and his face suddenly displayed an expression of pleasant surprise. Just as he was about to excitedly whoop a few times, he suddenly discovered that this lotus leaf was slowly sinking into the Black River. His heart panicked. Eyeing the nearest black lotus leaf, he prepared to forcefully jump over. Putong. 6. The moment he exerted, the malicious words instantly sunk into the Black River waters. The moment his body was splashed by water, he was incapable of mustering any strength. The person seemingly became 1,000 catty iron lump that sunk downwards. The male cultivator screamed in terror. Bastards, you despicable old bastards. Your servant will become a ghost that will never let you go. The male cultivator howled in despair. The flying sword his hand grasped attacked Ancestor Qianli. Ancestor Qianli was unconcerned. Several tens of flying swords had not yet flew before him when they clattered down into the river. That male cultivator's body had already been submerged in the blink of an eye. A galaxy late-stage cultivator had unexpectedly died as easily as blowing dust away. Su Xing was secretly fearful. When the other cultivator heard the male cultivator's words in the face of death, each and everyone gnashed their teeth. They glared at Ancestor Qianli and Taoist Master Qing Lian with hidden resentment. If they did not know that acting out would only result in even less suspenseful death, they would have already made a move. The two ancestors did not care. Gazing at them as if they were bugs, Ancestor Qianli sneered, "You go." A female cultivator had been pointed out. With grief across her entire face, she jumped to the spot the previous male cultivator stood. She pondered for a moment, and then she jumped to the nearest lotus leaf. Everyone stared attentively at her. When they saw the lotus leaf steadily support her weight, they sighed in relief. The female cultivator cried tears of joy, for she had a sort of feeling she had just escaped from calamity. Waifu, prepare to move in a moment. Su Xing squinted his eyes, executing sound transmission. The Wu Siyou, who had long already watched the two hypocritical old farts Ancestor Qianli and Taoist Master Qing Lian with an ill mood, went, N. One cultivator after another was treated as a pathfinding scapegoat by Ancestor Qianli and Taoist Master Qing Lian, who were treated as bright lanterns giving directions. When they were halfway across the Toad Black River, the black-clawed toads poked their heads out. These highly toxic monsters continuously hid within the water, or they sat upon lotus leaves, rolling their long tongues with thorny growths all over. If a cultivator were to be rolled in, that would be disastrous. Fortunately, the two great sect's ancestors were not completely shameless. As per their earlier promise, they operated every sort of magic weapon and flying sword to attack these toads. The cultivations of supercluster middle stages against these black-clawed toads basically greatly alleviated the pressure on the other pathfinders, but this did not make the others feel grateful at all. It was possible, all of the cultivators present wished to push these two ancestors into the Black River. The two ancestors were prudent. Not only did they walk at the very back, the light of the defensive magic weapons on their persons glinted like a protective shield shrouding their whole bodies. The cultivators relying on that bit of galaxy stage star energy fundamentally could not break through. Furthermore, Su Xing discerned that although Ancestor Qianli and Taoist Master Qing Lian took every precaution against those black-clawed toads, their divine intents were nevertheless fixed onto each and every movement of everyone. Even Su Xing and Fang Xianggu were included. It seems this will not be easy to start. Wu Siyou softly chuckled. She could also see the precautions of the two great cultivators. One of these supercluster middle stage monsters was doable, but even Su Xing could not possibly have the slightest chance of victory against two. Particularly in the case that Taoist Master Qing Lian's more than 360 extreme white-green lotus swords were to unleash their murderous desire, that imposing air was absolutely unstoppable in not just name, but also reality. They must die. Su Xing coldly chuckled. In order to not let the two ancestors behind doubt them, Su Xing embraced Wu Siyou's slender waist with one arm, feigning an intimate appearance. Oh. Hearing these sorts of words from a galaxy stage cultivator actually makes your servant surprised. For Su Xing's determination and confidence, she actually overlooked the intimate actions he made on her body. The cool and elegant girl said with a hint of playfulness, "Could it be that you disapprove of this method? Do you wish to uphold justice?" This sentence carried a bit of teasing. Su Xing scoffed. These two ancestors are this crafty, so the Toad Black River is a good opportunity to kill them. If we miss this chance, it will be even harder to accomplish. Seeing that this Black River had super heavy poison water, even Ancestor Qianli and the rest did not dare be careless. How could Su Xing miss this good of an opportunity to deal a fatal blow, let alone that their current actions and conduct in forcing the other scattered star cultivators to wish they could kill them? Su Xing completely did not have any misgivings about that. Do you have this self-confidence? If you make a mistake, you must know the consequences. Crossing 100 meters, Wu Siyou asked to be sure as she dropped onto a lotus leaf that the cultivator in front had verified. Siyou, are you concerned about me? Su Xing's eyes glinted. Your servant is only concerned about Yingmei. Wu Siyou indifferently replied. N. For Yingmei to have a friend like you is honestly pretty good. Su Xing laughed. Wu Siyou snorted. Glancing sideways at Su Xing, those cool and elegant eyes seemed to conveying, since you act as her master, then you had best not make Yingmei disappointed. Su Xing slightly smiled. Looking at the lotus leaf in front of him, he reached out his arm and suddenly placed Wu Siyou into a carry, leaping swiftly over. Her nephrite, warm fragrance was upon his chest. Wu Siyou's eyes stared blankly, nearly shouting out, this man was unexpectedly this brazen. The Wu Siyou who had been carried by a man this intimately for the first time was very resentful. Do you feel your servant is easy to bully? What would I bully you for, waifu? Siyou hinted to beneath his foot. Siyou looked downwards and spotted this black lotus was very narrow and could just hold the one person only. However, this black lotus appeared to be very odd, not at all like the ordinary lotus flowers but rather some sort of forbid dance specially arranged on the black water. Even with the weight of 2 people, the lotus leaf did not sink. You go first, your servant does not need your concern. Siyou's hand grabbed Siyou's collar, and Siyou felt that she's slightly nervous. Since you are my wife, of course I cannot ignore you. Siyou shook his head, in deadly earnest. Indeed, you are very capable of saying pleasant words. Siyou harumphed, tightly pursing her red lips. Behind him, Ancestor Qianli and Taoist Master Qing Lian closely followed. Spotting that intimate behavior between Siyou and Siyou, Ancestor Qianli was slightly displeased. Did this married couple think they were on a scenic tour, unexpectedly flirting with each other on this black toad river where every step was a disaster? He extended and waved his hand, killing several dozen black-clawed toads. Ancestor Qianli smiled insincerely at Taoist Master Qing Lian. The Taoist Master is indeed very fortunate, surprisingly recruiting such a star master. It seems that woman is extraordinarily cool and elegant, exceptional in temperament. Presumably, she is not a simple character either. Ancestor Qianli was somewhat envious. These words are wrong. Has the Ancestor not seen his star general? Her star energy has been devoured. Using him for a star duel is simply sending him to die. Taoist Master Qing Lian shook his head. How could he compare to your star master? That fair-skinned gentleman is of extraordinary martial force. How could these scattered star cultivators also willingly bend to our sections? Ancestor Qianli gloomily said. Those sects were good, many star generals possessed unimaginable egos. They were not at all willing to depend on sections. From their perspective, they could only rely on themselves to count as the genuine victor of the star duels. Right now, they ought to be shedding tears of gratitude. If it was not for our cover, their star duels would already have finished at this black river. Taoist Master Qing Lian slightly smiled. Ancestor Qianli also laughed out loud. Right, this Taoist Master still does not know what that star general of his is. Taoist Master Qing Lian remembered. Because she seemed to have been drained of star energy, he had forgotten to go inquire him. Although many of Liangshan continent's monsters did not participate in the star duels, they still were very interested in the identities of the star generals. Just ask when we have crossed, however, that brat is somewhat strange. You have to ask clearly once we cross the Toad Black River. Ancestor Qianli's eyes flashed ice cold. Has the Ancestor been scared stiff by that purple thunder monster? Taoist Master Qing Lian faintly smiled. A galaxy early-stage cultivator can stir up some big waves, but not everyone is like the purple thunder monster. Careful, or you shall suffer a mishap. Ancestor Qianli snorted. Taoist Master Qing Lian stroked his beard and smiled. Several hours later, everyone had crossed several thousand meters into the Toad Black River. Along the way, more than 10 cultivators had become the Black River's watery ghosts to be forever buried within. Gradually, everyone was close to numb. Having already seen the other shore, they could not help but speed up. Though their eyes saw it, they had not seen the Toad 5 Poisons array point at all. However, at this time, everyone was not in the mood to care about this. With Toad Black River this large, this array point could not be said to have been already found by the cultivators in the other directions. Being forced along by 2 ancestors at this pace, all the cultivators were resentful to the bone. When Fang Xiangu and Zheng Yanran thrillingly arrived at the other side of the Black River, they also thoroughly breathed out a sigh of relief, beckoning at Siyou with a wave. When Siyou saw, he only took 100 paces before stopping on a lotus leaf. Siyou looked back and hinted with his eyes. Although she was somewhat unwilling, Siyou also knew that right now was not the time to bicker about the details. Suddenly, she half-knelt, and the Harm Star's style that did not bother about trifles made Siyou very awed. Originally from his perspective, Siyou's cool elegance was categorized as that sort of unreasonable style. However, she actually frequently made people surprised. Speaking from one perspective, fighters that could change according to the situation were especially frightening, as worthy of the star that became the last generation's overlord. "Waifu, do you want to vomit again?" Su Xing feigned concern as he shouted. The Ancestor Qianli and Taoist Master Qing Lian behind them soon after caught up. "What is the matter?" Taoist Master Qing Lian asked. The cultivators on the riverbank also sent confused gazes. Just at this moment, the eyes of both Su Xing and Wu Siyou flashed a cold light of tacit understanding. At nearly the same time, they instantly turned around and launched an attack. As for their degree of mutual understanding, if they were not husband and wife, perhaps no one would have believed it. The expressions of the two ancestors greatly changed. Because they had neared the shore, they had become relaxed and unconsciously lowered their alertness. Now, this just happened to give Su Xing his chance. The weapon in his hand stabbed straight. Let alone that the supercluster star cultivators had superb cultivations and exceptional powers, the power of their realms was stronger by 3 levels. However, the majority of star cultivators all had a fatal weakness, and that was the close quarters that Su Xing so very much was familiar with. Su Xing whipped out heaven tearing and slashed at them while Wu Siyou's noble frost demonic Lotus also finally had the chance to taste blood. The two ancestors were also worthy of their titles as the consecrated supreme grade ancestral masters of their sections. The defensive magic weapons on their bodies instantly activated, blocking this fatal strike. Relying on their resounding magic energy to break through was not that easy. The swiftly arriving golden sword's rainbow already shot violently forth, striking violently head-on. A green light erupted, and a dark green barrier floated at a place several zhang about Taoist Qing Lian's head. In the instant the golden rainbow struck the barrier, an explosive sound burst forth. Although this barrier flickered incessantly, after a moment, it had emerged unscathed. At nearly the same time, more than 300 extreme white-green lotus swords launched at this moment. In the blink of an eye, they became an immense, blue-green python pounced out from the light, ferociously approaching Su Xing's golden sword net. Immediately, green and gold light rays interweaved together, occasionally rumbling. Taoist Master Qing Lian's expression slightly changed. He gazed at Su Xing, full of disbelief. His more than 300 extreme white-green lotus swords unexpectedly had been contended to a standstill by 12 golden ones. This actually was outside of his imagination. Su Xing's golden flying swords screamed, and dragon shadows emerged. One look was enough to know this was out of the ordinary, and while Taoist Master Qing Lian was greatly alarmed, his hand nevertheless steady. "Disciple, what are you doing?" Taoist Master Qing Lian hastily struck several hand seals to launch a sword array from his flying swords. From the originally entangled and jumbled green and golden light, a large expanse concentrated at the middle. Suddenly, a massive sword approximately 20 to 30 zhang appeared out of nowhere. After several slashes that were seemingly almost like lightning, the heaven-tearing gold swords wailed and were immediately broken apart. With a supercluster middle-stage cultivator's cultivation, even Su Xing's immemorial sword chant could not possibly go block it. The sword array activated, and it truly made people change expressions. Then, the giant sword slashed in passing without a trace of politeness. There was an abundance of power that could cut Su Xing into flying ash. Seeing this scene, a cold smile flashed across Su Xing's face, as if he had already anticipated this. His wrist turned. A sparkling and translucent jadeite branch appeared in Su Xing's hand. That jadeite branch's spiritual power was plentiful, and its auspicious light of 1,000 rays gave people a sort of exceedingly refined feeling that compelled people to pay their respects. The surroundings immediately rolled with green light, the aura endless. The miraculous Bodhi tree. Seeing this item, Taoist Master Qing Lian's self-confident expression abruptly changed. "You deceive and destroy your ancestors, your fathers, too, the purple thunder monster." Su Xing swiped with the miraculous Bodhi tree. He felt his whole body's star energy was nearly sucked dry, and instantly, he was completely powerless. The miraculous Bodhi tree sent out a jadeite blue light. This light resembled clouds and smoke. The divine light swept over, freezing the more than 300 extreme white-green lotus swords within. However, since Su Xing's current cultivation was far from being able to completely wield the miraculous Bodhi tree, even his entire body's worth of star energy could not shake Taoist Master Qing Lian's life-cast flying sword. This Taoist Master Qing Lian was unexpectedly so valiant. Consecutively eating 3 flowers of 1,000 bells immortal's dew, Su Xing swiped 3 times within the span of a breath. The extreme white-green lotus swords finally were completely sent flying. This Taoist Master Qing Lian was worthy of being called the Tai Sword Sect's ancestral master grade. To be able to practice his cultivation to this stage, which cultivator was not as astute as a demon. However, Su Xing using galaxy early-stage cultivation to unexpectedly counterattack made these astute and crafty great cultivators greatly surprised. They felt this was unbelievable and were caught unprepared. Even so, Taoist Master Qing Lian still reacted extremely quickly. Hearing, "Purple Thunder Monster," Taoist Master Qing Lian's heart was suddenly infuriated. In practically the blink of an eye, after green light flashed in his hand, an object suddenly appeared. Verdant and glistening, it unexpectedly was a seemingly tiny miniature mountain. Su Xing was inwardly grave. Having previously seen Ancestor Huaimu's giant mountain magic weapon, Su Xing naturally knew the might of this type of magic weapon. While controlling the heaven-tearing sword array to attack, he heard Taoist Master Qing Lian have a fit of violent fury. That green peak was flung towards the sky, and immediately, this mountain displayed flowing jade light. Its bulk violently swelled, instantly increasing to a size of several zhang, and it still continued to grow bigger. Su Xing saw the situation firsthand. Without the slightest hesitation, he pointed at the green peak. After the 12 golden heaven-tearing swords roared with a dragon's cry, they became a golden dragon, directly shooting towards the small mountain in the sky. It violently fell upon the mountain, slashing into the top of the green peak. With an enormous boom, rock fragments wildly flew, light extensively released. The golden rays and jade light interweaved and collided together. The Tai Sword sect were all extremely good in giant mountain-type magic weapons, especially so with Taoist Master Qing Lian. His green lotus peak was a prehistoric spirit treasure. Although it could not compare to the miraculous Bodhi tree, in his hands, it was an absolutely terrifying item. It was not unknown how many powerful enemy demon beasts it helped him kill, and it was only for this reason that he bestowed himself the name Taoist Master Qing Lian. This green lotus peak truly was enormous, seemingly an actual mountain. Upon the mountaintop, jasper jade Taoist temples and cloud palaces could even be seen. There were even silhouettes of people moving, so it seemed this was a world unto itself. Unbelievable. The green lotuses on the green lotus peak blossomed, and black jade lights overlapped, slowly and unhurried. Su Xing narrowed his eyes. His heart was somewhat startled that Taoist Master Qing Lian would also have assets like this. On the green peak's top portion, the dark light flourished and wound into a battle with heaven tearing. Originally, Su Xing had thought he could cleave this mountain in two, but evidently, that was not possible. The peak's green lotus flowers transformed into completely moss-green fires that struck onto the heaven-tearing swords. They surged with a resplendent green light, burning upon the heaven-tearing swords. Hearing a dragon's weight, it was somewhat unable to withstand it. Su Xing was greatly surprised, and Taoist Master Qing Lian also was shocked. The green lotus karma fire, too, on this spirit treasure would have already burnt a galaxy cultivator's flying sword away long ago. His opponent's flying sword could unexpectedly force itself through. Taoist Master Qing Lian could also discern that heaven tearing was not ordinary, for it was shockingly a rarely seen flying sword of golden dragon scales. No wonder he could destroy that many cultivators. He unexpectedly had such a powerful flying sword. And at this time, the peak inside the green light had already expanded to a size of more than 100 zhang. It was identical to a genuine mountain. Even if Su Xing was bold and unperturbed, in witnessing this lofty tower of a green peak in front of him, his eyelids could not help but violently jump twice. His expression became even more serious. He could guess without thinking. If he was actually struck by this peak, whatever defensive barrier he had absolutely could not obstruct this thing. He would instantly be ground to dust. Su Xing's giant heavenly tearing sword again cut the summit several times, but just the green fire was difficult. It was no use. Courting death. Taoist Master Qing Lian was determined to make this purple thunder monster watch carefully. After a sinister smile, one hand swept towards the green lotus peak and struck a hand seal inside. The green lotus peak whooshed. In the next instant, by an instantaneous movement escape art, it unexpectedly appeared above Su Xing. Then, it wildly pressed downwards. Toad Black River was 1,000 li vast, yet Su Xing did not flee. If he fled away, that would be truly dangerous. Su Xing grasped the miraculous Bodhi tree and repeatedly brushed with it. Washua, washua, washwashua. 3. Treasure light glittered, and the green divine light rolled like a sea of clouds. The multicolored light and auspicious air gradually rose and wrapped the green lotus peak within. The two's cultivation had an extremely large difference. If it was anyone else relying on Galaxy early stage to shake up a supercluster middle stage cultivator's magic weapon, they would certainly be ridiculed by others and believed to be daydreaming. However, Su Xing relied on the suicidal wild shaking of the miraculous Bodhi tree. He ate more than 10 flowers of 1,000 bells immortals dew and finally broke through the green lotus peak in the blink of an eye. The green lotus flames had been blown out by the miraculous Bodhi tree's clear light, and the summit had also been stalled tight by the clear clouds and auspicious light. The originally fully self-confident Taoist Master Qing Lian was greatly shocked. He simply felt the matter that happened before him was inconceivable. He completely did not expect Su Xing would be this wanton in his shaking the miraculous Bodhi tree. Restricting the green lotus peak, Su Xing then acted without thinking, forming his sword chant. The heaven-tearing sword array flew into the wind, the golden dragon's shadow dividing mid-flight. Once again, it became a several hundred chi-long golden sword chi. Hiding the sky and covering the earth, after it descended, an instant made Taoist Master Qing Lian trapped inside the flock of swords. The more than 300 extreme white-green lotus swords at this time flashed green light without end, the sword chi fiercely struggling with the heaven-tearing swords. Su Xing swiped the miraculous Bodhi tree. He first made the extreme white-green lotus swords fall back, and then an arc of lightning suddenly jumped from below. Su Xing actually seized the chance to send his figure violently to attack from his front, in order to get this done quickly. Ah! Taoist Master Qing Lian was startled. When he raised a hand to execute an action, Su Xing's arm abruptly stretched forth. His two eyes glimpsed crimson, and this made Taoist Master Qing Lian feel fear. He looked and saw the 5 fingers of Su Xing's palm had sword traces moving. Closing his fist, Su Xing stabbed into him like lightning. That 5-fingered claw screamed with a bone-piercing chill. Unexpectedly, it was Taoist Master Qing Lian who felt danger. Taoist Master Qing Lian was startled. A green shield hovered in front of him, almost psychically moving of its own accord to protect its master. After a white light flashed, it blocked the old man's rear, for a palm chopped onto the green shield. When Taoist Master Qing Lian saw this, his face showed some delight. The opponent unexpectedly used his bare hands to attack his front, truly courting death for himself. However, Taoist Master Qing Lian evidently forgot why Su Xing was called the Purple Thunder Monster. Bang! A muffled sound resounded, and a long concentrated purple mansion immortal's thunder tore the green shield to pieces. Taoist Master Qing Lian was stunned, only feeling his front become dazzled and his chest go cold. Su Xing's devil-like 5-fingered demonic claw pressed against his chest, the movement incomparably gentle. This was the first time that Taoist Master Qing Lian had been scared stiff by a galaxy stage cultivator. He had not yet uttered a sound when, with a zila, the tip that was sharper than a sword directly seized Daoist Qing Lian and violently tore him down. This was the 9 claws true dragon art that Su Xing obtained from Long Outyan. Relying on the extreme sincerity soul technique skills, Su Xing cultivated for a night with some small progress. This type of claw technique surprise attack could easily rip artifact protections to shreds. Even if Daoist Master Qing Lian had a powerful star energy protecting him, he would still be pushed back a few steps by this. And these steps were what Su Xing wanted. How ridiculous! Daoist Master Qing Lian scowled in anger. He was about to do something when suddenly he saw Su Xing reveal a victorious sneer. Daoist Master Qing Lian felt his feet touch nothing. He looked downwards, and underneath his feet was the super-heavy black water. The Daoist master was horrified. Bang! If it was the normal Su Xing alone handling this sort of apex stage supercluster middle stage monster, he definitely would not possibly have a chance, but the reason why Su Xing dared to use this moment to act was to exploit the Toad Black River's properties. This sort of thousand caddies poison water was something even supercluster cultivators would dread. Su Xing's series of lightning speed surprise attacks were not to kill him, but rather to strike him into the black water. Ah! Daoist Master Qing Lian screamed and fell into the black water. The black water bubbled and wrapped around Daoist Master Qing Lian. The old man's body was like a heavy cauldron that could not help but sink. The treasure light on Daoist Master Qing Lian erupted, continuously lifting star energy. However, how could Su Xing give him a chance? The miraculous Bodhi tree shook once more, breaking Daoist Master Qing Lian's magic. This threw Daoist Master Qing Lian completely into despair. This sect and you cannot coexist. The Daoist Master Qing Lian's previous calm and relaxed attitude was entirely gone at this moment as he madly shouted. Very quickly, he was only ahead, but this old man was honestly incredible to strenuously hold out to climb out. Gong Suanhuan suddenly emerged and stepped on the top of Daoist Master Qing Lian's head. This was just like the last straw that broke the camel's back. Daoist Master Qing Lian completely submerged. Before he faced death's door, he saw the girl's 2 delicate feet float inexplicably several inches above the Black River. It was then he finally knew what Su Xing's star general was. That was not trash, she was a monster. Leisure Star Dragon in the Clouds Gong Sun Sheng. Leaving behind a muffled sentence brimming with unreconciled resentment, Daoist Master Qing Lian at once sunk into the Black River. This calm and easy great cultivator perhaps had never thought in any way that he would die so sullenly. Following his death, the more than 300 extreme white-green lotus swords became masterless objects that plummeted one after the other. Su Xing threw out the weapon removal scroll that Tang Lianxin supported him with. It stored these extreme white-green lotus swords, and although the spiritual power had already greatly decreased, it could be refined once again when turned over to little sister Tang. That spirit treasure Green Cloud Peak, 5, entered the weapon removal scroll. Daoist Master Qing Lian and his astral bag sunk together into the Toad Black River. This was actually somewhat of a shame. Ah! Abruptly, there was a scream. Ancestor Qianli's figure on the other side heavily was sent flying. Wu Xiu's martial force was outstanding, and how could Ancestor Qianli be her opponent in close quarters battle when he was caught off guard? On such narrow lotus leaves, Ancestor Qianli completely could not display his powers and had been firmly suppressed as he stared blankly at Daoist Master Qing Lian sink into the Black River. Then, Wu Xiu's noble frost demonic lotus broke his blooming water divine thunder, sending Ancestor Qianli flying with one hand. Ancestor Qianli fell onto a lotus leaf. His luck could be considered good, unexpectedly having not sunk. Harm Star Wu Song. How could you have? Ancestor Qianli gazed at Su Xing in shock, feeling his mind was in chaos. The Harm Star Pilgrim unexpectedly became a Star Master's wife, but why would Ancestor Qianli dare even think even a bit on this? Hastily, he jumped past several lotus leaves and leapt to the shore. This guy's fortune honestly was good to the extreme. Those several dozens of black-colored lotus leaves that had not been checked had supported his weight. Su Xing was secretly anything but reassured. He chased with Wu Siyou for the kill, and when they reached the shore, Ancestor Qianli turned his head to spot the two pouncing at him. He was scared pale, and stamping his foot, he used a thousand-li divine light escape 6 technique to escape 1,000 li forwards. The magnificent supercluster middle stage cultivator unexpectedly was being engaged by a galaxy early stage cultivator in a deadly pursuit, which was unprecedented in all of Liangshan. After passing 5 Poisons Mountain's third poison, Black Toad River, the remaining cultivators including Fang Xiangu were no more than 10. The remaining cultivators that had just escaped from calamity were all tired and lingering on the shore with their last breaths, secretly cursing. Then, Su Xing and Wu Siyou's sudden hostility towards the supercluster stage-old cultivators stupefied them. By the time Taoist Master Qing Lian submerged into the Black River, Ancestor Qianli's divine light escape left everyone completely unable to return to their senses. They thought their minds were in confusion. Su Xing and Wu Siyou hastily chased, but the divine light instantly disappeared from their eyes. Neither did they look at it anymore. What happened just now? A cultivator asked in a daze. P. Purple Thunder Monster. We are not blind, are we? There was a commotion, and everyone showed shocked and inconsolable expressions. They looked at each other in dismay, their whole bodies trembling. I seem to have heard them say Purple Thunder Monster. But we did not spot Lin Chong. And that has to be the noble frost demonic Lotus of Wusong. How could she be the Purple Thunder Monster's wife? All the cultivators' minds were completely in chaos. It must be the Purple Thunder Monster. Fuck, he is too powerful. Other than he, what other galaxy cultivator can get rid of a supercluster ancestor? Furthermore, Ancestor Qianli has also fled. Truly inconceivable. The Purple Thunder Monster is unexpectedly this unfathomable. It seems he truly did get rid of old monster Extreme Clarity. He deserves to be called the Purple Thunder Monster. Even that harm star has become his wife. I feel that who the Purple Thunder Monster signed was not Lin Chong, but actually Wu Song. Everyone could not control themselves as they bustled into a discussion. Some people currently still were incapable of recovering their state of mind. The Purple Thunder Monster in the Azure Dragon territory was an impressive and famous monster and devil, but at this very moment, everyone that had been forced by the two ancestors only felt the Purple Thunder Monster was the Purple Thunder Saint. They more or less even had a sort of urge to bow in worship and reverence to him. Fang Xiangu also looked in shock at his cousin, fair-skinned gentleman Zheng Yanran. Cousin, what do we do about this? Zheng Yanran was far calmer than everyone. She wore a frivolous smile, her eyes twinkling with a radiance as she muttered to herself, elder sister Wu Siyou is unexpectedly the harm star pilgrim Wu Song. This truly makes little sister expand her horizons. Of course we must properly send elder sister and elder brother some greetings. Zheng Yanran's large sleeves waved, and Jade Dragon Misfortune Snow was grasped in her hand. Yanran, you absolutely cannot. Fang Xiangu promptly blocked her, that is the harm star pilgrim Wu Song and the Purple Thunder Monster. Furthermore, your servant also owes them a favor. Regardless of what sort of reason, Fang Xiangu was not at all willing to star duel with Su Xing. Zheng Yanran rolled her eyes at him. Cousin, you misunderstand. Did you not see that old fart flee? Of course we are helping elder sister Siyou kill that old bastard, he. The fair-skinned gentleman laughed into her sleeve. When Fang Xiangu heard this, he sighed in relief and wiped his cold sweat. Thinking about it, it was obvious. To rapidly dispatch Taoist Master Qing Lian and scare Ancestor Qianli away, he believed 10 of himself could not do the same. Cousin, want to star duel? Zheng Yanran giggled. Fang Xiangu shook his head, we had better first go help the Su Xing married couple. Go. The remaining 6 or 7 cultivators blankly sat on the shore, staring at each other. What do we do now? With the supercluster Ancestor dead, they no longer had a threat while at the same time, they did not have an objective. To have them go obtain the 10,000-year goo. Everyone present had the self-knowledge to know what was important. They did not dare have that sort of thought to steal food from a supervoid stage tiger's den. Are the others not breaking the forbid dance? Wait until the forbid dance breaks, then we had better quickly leave this place. A cultivator shook his head. 5 poisons mountains 5 poisons were pervasive. Just walking wasted enormous energy. The group sat cross-legged in meditation, recovering star energy on one hand while waiting for an opportunity on the other. The others deeply held this to be true. The back of 5 poisons mountain still had 2 poisons, and it was unknown what degree of danger was there. Charging any further was honestly too foolish. That purple thunder monster is unexpectedly this formidable, no wonder he has killed that many supercluster cultivators. I wonder what sort of person he is. He has even signed Wusong. And I hear he also has Lin Chong. Could he be a star master sent down by Maiden Mountain? Everyone leisurely idled, taking turns discussing together. The Su Xing who had just got rid of Daoist Master Qing Lian and scared off Ancestor Qianli was too shocking to their impressions. In this lifetime, perhaps it would be hard to forget. To be only galaxy middle stage cultivation, even if his star general was any more brilliant, as far as they were concerned, they had been given a big scare. However, everyone applauded the purple thunder monster. Wusong claims to be his wife. Ha, it seems these 9th generation star duels sure enough are different. The 10 great sects each are shams. Your servant feels that the purple thunder monster exterminating them is very wonderful. After we get out, we must properly inform our other fellow about the true face of the 10 great sects. All of the cultivators grit their teeth, each clenching their fists in resentment, their eyes giving off fire. If it was not for the purple thunder monster beating back these 2 ancestors, they naturally knew this trip would be certain death. Someday in the future, the Azure Dragon Territory's scattered star cultivators had the rumors of the 10 great sects' conduct and deeds of this time. At that time, the entire Azure Dragon Territory was shocked. Hundreds of millions of scattered star cultivators viewed the 10 great sects as if they were maggots. At that time, the purportedly awe-inspiring 10 great sects became something everyone in the Azure Dragon Territory would not raise their heads for, something scorned by all. They had a bad reputation while on the contrary, the Purple Thunder monster's popularity became the first in the Azure Dragon Territory to surpass Emperor Liang's. Considered a god by scattered star cultivators, they prostrated in worship. Of course, this was all something to be taken up later. Su Xing and Wu Siyou chased to kill after Ancestor Qianli. Su Xing certainly would not let this old fart go. If they waited until he joined up with the other cultivators, the result probably would far from good. Fortunately, this 5 poisons mountain was saturated with poison gas, the forbid dance boundless. Ancestor Qianli had no opportunities, however, his thousandly divine light escape genuinely was incredible, disappearing right in front of them in the blink of an eye. Approximately an hour later, Su Xing and Wu Siyou arrived at the entrance to a canyon. This ravine's cliffs were scarlet like blood, a thoroughly surging red. Miasma rose in wisps, rolling up the reeking stench of blood. One look showed it contained extreme poison. Inside the battle-scarred valley, there were countless craters and cracks. From within the cracks, blood-colored miasma bubbles occasionally bubbled forth. The warping red fog made the canyon appear to squirm, as if it was a gigantic centipede, and just in front of the path to the canyon, there were clear traces that someone had passed through. Clearly, Ancestor Qianli's escape technique left these. 5 poisons 4th poison, Bloody Centipede Valley. Su Xing wrinkled his brow. The scene in front of him honestly was very uncomfortable. Even with the detoxification pearl inside his body, he felt his heart and lungs were being suffocated. His blood seemingly was about to be frozen, let alone that this was even worse for others. However, this environment was also fine, for he presumed that Ancestor Qianli could not run that far either. Waifu? You wait here and wait for me. Su Xing said. do you think you can handle a supercluster middle stage cultivator alone? Wu Siyou looked disdainfully at him out of the corner of her eye. She waved her hand. A white light flashed, and the white and black unicorn tiger appeared. The white tiger's entire body glowed with a snowlight. The 7th rank spirit beast's imposing aura was not covered by the red magic fog and was being dispersed. Wu Siyou straddled upon the white tiger, her black hair flowing. Su Xing's eyes shone, and he completely did not hesitate to jump up and hold Wu Siyou's slim waist between his arms. Wu Siyou was blank, having not foreseen that Su Xing would unexpectedly climb on without asking. She coldly said, "Your servant did not allow you on at all. Don't be so stingy, hurry and go chase Ancestor Qianli." Su Xing said. This man stuck to her back, making Wu Siyou somewhat fidgety, especially that hand that unexpectedly embraced her back. "Behave yourself." Wu Siyou coldly snorted. She read out an incantation, and her eyes immediately glowed. The white and black unicorn tiger similarly reacted. It gave a low roar, charging into Bloody Centipede Valley. They could taste the flavor of the red miasma, which frantically rolled. Wu Siyou single-handedly held the double-headed sword Noble Frost Demonic Lotus. The point of snow amid the ink black on the sword tip whirled out a light that encircled the white and black unicorn tiger's entire surroundings. The white light ripped apart the red mist, the tiger growls endless. Every kind of red poison grass grew all over Bloody Centipede Valley, with some shrubbery higher than the knees. Sitting obediently on the white tiger, Su Xing helped himself to using the flying sword to mow some away that he could bring back to Ansuan to see whether or not she could concoct a few poisons or antidotes and such. Suddenly, a shuffling sound like ocean waves seemingly resounded. The white and black unicorn tiger stopped, continuously growling. They saw that from between the small cracks in the cliffs, countless gigantic centipedes with their whole slender bodies seemingly drenched in blood crawl out, their mouths spitting red miasma. Their 100 feet were confusing, and they released hisses. They were those bloody centipedes. The white and black unicorn tiger's tiger claw slapped, slapping a swathe of them to death. The bloody centipede's mouth spat red fog, the venom linking into a downpour. It covered and struck upon the light barrier that Wu Siyou constructed. Due to the amount actually being too great, the light cover tottered on the edge of collapse. The white and black unicorn tiger leapt, not stopping as it charged, but these bloody centipedes were completely fearless. Their venomous fangs snapped, their 100 feet simultaneously tore. As the proverb says, enough ants can bite an elephant to death. Even if it was a 7th rank spirit beast, it could not bear the assault of this many bloody centipedes. Rushing past several thousand meters, the white and black unicorn tiger stood still without advancing. When Su Xing saw this, he brought out heaven tearing and wildly slashed to sweep everything away. Even the golden sword's shadow was like a golden hurricane that blew past. Several dozen bloody centipedes were blown over, and Wu Siyou also dismounted her fierce tiger to sweep away. The black demonic lotus blossomed, and the snowlight was glimpsed. Wherever the harm star pilgrim passed, the bloody centipedes on both sides were flipped away one after the other, showering a rain of blood. At this time, Gongsun Huang also appeared on Su Xing's shoulders. She blinked her eyes, gazing at the boundless sea of blood. That ancient pine brand sword appeared in her hand with a multicolored light. The girl's hand fiercely waved, making a spellcasting movement. They suddenly saw a storm blow from her surroundings. These storm winds unleashed 10 similarly sized green storms that spun endlessly like whirlpools in the valley. The canyons inside was violent with a storm, and the killed bloody centipedes screamed with hisses. The hundreds of thousands of centipedes were rolled into the clouds, and the storm promptly became a fresh red. Those red mists were also blown away. Star magic. 2. Wind rolls the clouds. 3. When the storm stopped, the bloody centipedes in Su Xing's surroundings were all turned over. Apparently, they sensed this magic's power, and the bloody centipedes fled into their cracks out of fear. Little Huang, nicely done. Su Xing praised, rubbing her head. Gong Sun Huang hummed. With the dragon in the clouds, Gong Sun Huang's star magic, everyone was more relaxed. Although Gong Sun Huang had not yet completely recovered, even unable to kill these bloody centipedes, she still could easily sweep them away 500-600 meters. These bloody centipedes were extremely afraid. A little while after, the sounds of battle rang from the front. They saw an old man currently in a tangle with a gigantic centipede. Su Xing stared, and his eyes suddenly shot a cold light. He was Ancestor Qianli. The giant centipede that Ancestor Qianli confronted was even more enormous than the bulk of bloody centipedes. Blood markings fully spread over its entire body like a person's meridians. Its mouth emitted wisps of a kind of bizarre blood poison as it battled with Ancestor Qianli. The supercluster middle stage Ancestor Qianli seemed to be using all of his strength to attack. Several dozen flying swords endlessly twisted to attack, blooming water divine thunder struck the blood wisps, and several magic weapons unceasingly tore open the centipede's body to quickly kill it. Blood Jade Centipede? Su Xing was stunned, for the Blood Jade Centipede was the supreme grade poison centipede of the 5 poison centipedes category. The blood wisps and blood fog it released were extremely powerful, ordinary magic weapons would very easily be corrupted. This type of centipede's blood wisps could be used to refine polluted magic weapons with surprising efficacy. No wonder Ancestor Qianli was reluctant to let it go. Su Xing gestured with his hand, and the 12 heaven-tearing swords transformed into a golden thread. Loudly and clearly crying, a golden rainbow disappeared with a twinkle. The flying sword instantly appeared in front of Ancestor Qianli. Ancestor Qianli was secretly astonished, for how could these two have chased after him so quickly? Seeing that white and black unicorn tiger, his pupils shrunk. Unable to care more about that blood jade centipede, he then at the same time brought out a completely blue rui, too, and the rui's treasure light erupted to block the heaven-tearing golden sword. Then, Ancestor Qianli shouted, his blooming water divine thunder transforming into a watercolor dragon that attacked Su Xing. His blooming water divine thunder ability was unknown amounts more brilliant than Ancestor Bailey's. Su Xing sneered to himself, and several purple lotus flowers simultaneously launched over. The blooming water divine thunder and the purple lotuses slammed into each other. The blue thunder and purple thunder immediately shook this centipede valley. Ancestor Qianli had originally watched Su Xing unexpectedly want to compete against the divine thunder he staked all on with secret delight. Using his supercluster middle stage magic energy to handle a galaxy early stage cultivator's divine thunder, he would still have enough to spare, but he had never thought his blooming water divine thunder ability was unexpectedly incapable of seizing the dominant position. How could this be? Ancestor Qianli was shocked. Hurriedly forming hand seals, several bolts of star energy poured into the divine thunder. The blooming water divine thunder changed shape into a dragon thunder that repeatedly roared, instantly tearing into the purple thunder's binding. Su Xing sneered. He suddenly waved his hand, and a purple robe draped itself on his body. This robe's purple clouds were propitiously wound around him, the auspicious light surrounding him. At first glance, Su Xing was just like a purple star adept, with a kind of imposing air that compelled others to lower their gazes. This was the earthly fiend grade astral treasure, purple domain robe. This astral treasure could make cultivated true qi increase its effectiveness, especially in making control of the purple star transforming qi even more smooth and easy. He flicked his fingers consecutively. Several dozen purple lotus flowers unhurriedly blossomed and advanced. The purple star transforming qi of the Su Xing that donned the purple domain robes immediately reached the true star realm, blending together with the blooming water divine thunder into a new thunder magic, the purple mansion immortal's thunder that was a level higher than blooming water divine thunder. And with Su Xing's profound magic energy, the three factors together handling Ancestor Qianli's blooming water divine thunder naturally was not out of the question. Purple thunder immortal's magic, kill! Su Xing shouted, forming hand seals consecutively. The several dozen purple lotus flowers broke open the blooming water divine thunder. A few among them burst towards Ancestor Qianli, however their power diminished when they arrived before him, having been scattered by Ancestor Qianli's wave. This ancestor's blooming water divine thunder also could not be underestimated. Purple thunder monster. Ancestor Qianli shouted in disbelief. Just what is your background? Your servant is here, if you wish to kill me, then hurry over. Su Xing curled his 10 fingers together, and several bolts of purple lightning struck over. You truly anger this ancestor. A tiny galaxy early stage dares to be this impudent. Ancestor Qianli nearly went mad with rage. Never before was there a galaxy early stage cultivator that could be this impudent without relying on a star general. A tearing sound. The blood jade centipede at this time spat out wisps of blood that destroyed Ancestor Qianli's magic weapon. Old thief, 3, accept death. A white shadow at this moment had already rushed through layers of obstructions to attack. Wu Siyou rose from the white and black unicorn tiger, the noble frost demonic Lotus executing a jump slash against Ancestor Qianli. Her delicate figure was breathtaking as a sword. How could Ancestor Qianli dare stand off against Wu Song? Looking at that blood jade centipede, he could only grit his teeth and give up on it. He activated the thousandly divine light escape and immediately fled, the speed terrifyingly swift. Several hundred meters away, Ancestor Qianli coldly shouted, truly what a good Wu Song, unexpectedly becoming the purple thunder monster's wife. To speak of this with others is truly a joke. You think you still can walk away alive? Wu Siyou coldly said. Just as Ancestor Qianli wanted to say something, a silhouette suddenly flashed beside him, and Su Xing had shockingly attacked to his front. So fast. Unexpectedly daring to come receive death alone. Ancestor Qianli had been baffled, angry to the extreme that he contrarily smiled, his face full of malevolence. He opened his mouth, and 3 bolts of water thunder sprayed forth. Surprisingly, these were 3 blooming water divine thunders that were kept in his mouth, each just like a small sword. The blooming water divine thunder flying swords generally were of 2 types. One type was formed purely using blooming water divine thunder. This sword looked like a flying sword, but in fact, it was the blooming water divine thunder itself, minus the flying sword's strength and ferocity in killing or injuring. The second type was just like Su Xing's purple star transforming chi that fused with his own powers, but to fuse a flying sword was extremely difficult. It required very pure materials, and then they needed to pass through Lifecast Power's refinement before the task could finally begin. In the case that this succeeded, that indeed was something more powerful than a Lifecast flying sword. These 3 small swords originally were only approximately an inch in size, like water droplets, but they circled around their master's body in the blink of an eye, their forms suddenly swelling madly to approximately a chi in length. They became 3 zhang long blue water rainbows that circled unfixed in the air. The blooming water divine thunder lights on the swords leapt, launching a net of lightning. Su Xing saw his opponent use a blooming water divine thunder ability flying sword. Raising one hand, with a puchi, a purple-colored fiery and smoke-like sphere the size of a fist suddenly appeared in his palm. The purple clouds gurgled and emitted a sort of cutting sound. This was Purple Cloud True Star. The purple fireball supported on his palm lightly trembled, and then it suddenly ruptured. The purple fireball unexpectedly exploded in his hand. The purple clouds wafted in the air and gathered into a half-chi-sized purple bird. Its mouth released a crisp bird cry. Go! Su Xing fiercely pointed his finger at the opponent. The purple bird immediately flapped its 2 wings, transforming into a purple light that violently shot over. Ancestor Qianli saw that Su Xing unexpectedly wanted to contend against himself. His face sunk and his heart was immediately furious. This purple thunder monster honestly was too condescending, not using a single magic weapon. He relied only on an odd purple-colored bird, and he wanted to stop his own flower essence sword. 5. His heart angered to the extreme, Ancestor Qianli contrarily smiled. He said nothing further as his 10 fingers flew through hand seals, determined to use his most powerful sword chant from the very beginning. He seized on the chance that Wu Siyou did not act and that Lin Chong was not present to first destroy the purple thunder monster in one attack before putting them off to later. The 3 blue lights above his head gave a burst of a clear dragon-like cry. In an instant, they disappeared in midair, fading in and out, like silk weaving. This thing seemingly of lightning and water appeared in front of Ancestor Qianli, just as it had transformed into a line of light. Fine to the extreme, it had several zhang of length. While the blue light linked together and flickered, connecting streaks of lightning bolts appeared, instantly forming more than 100 densely packed sword threads. It appeared gorgeous and dazzling, glittering to the extreme. Sword Chi Thread Transformation. Su Xing wrinkled his brow, for he actually was not accustomed to sword Chi thread transformation. So long as their cultivation was somewhat brilliant, cultivators could all achieve it. However, the current Ancestor Qianli's sword thread was very strange, as if it was a spider web. Su Xing did not dare be careless. He immediately struck several hand seals, and the purple fire bird's thunderlight flashed. Kill! At this time, Ancestor Qianli coldly laughed in midair, striking a succession of seals into the sword threads in front of him. Suddenly, divine light wildly flashed, and every sword thread became a net of lightning that surged and launched, covering towards Su Xing. Su Xing fully exerted the purple cloud true star with all his strength, and that purple bird smashed its way up headfirst. In the instant the purple fire bird touched the blue net, an explosion burst forth. Soon after, lights continuously flashed. A purple lotus flower amidst the purple clouds appeared. This budding lotus endlessly whirled in the middle of the net. Countless blue sword threads slashed towards this thing, but they merely swept the lotus flowers surrounding purple clouds into ripples, unexpectedly incapable of approaching in the slightest. When Ancestor Qianli saw this situation, his heart was startled and angered at the same time. His flower essence sword was refined from the best flower water essence, and after adding the blooming water divine thunder, it was considered an extraordinary treasure. The 3 swords split apart, the essence threads linked together. There simply was not anyone who could escape this. With the haste of instant reactions, the sword chance stopped in his hand violently urged onwards. After every sword thread briefly flash a blue light, they unexpectedly again became slightly thinner and longer. Each chi thread became brilliant and dazzling, the thunderlight rumbling. They unexpectedly instantly closed in on the purple spiritual power, cutting the purple spiritual influences to pieces. In a moment, the purple lotus was about to be destroyed. A firefly's light dares to vie with the sun and moon for splendor. Ancestor Qianli was delighted. At this moment, Su Xing chuckled. He abruptly opened his mouth and spat out a water flame. This water flame puffed, and a blue mist of cold light was dispersed, wrapping up the sword threads. The rays of light were dazzling, making people unable to look upon it directly. The purple lotus flower simultaneously blossomed. The purple clouds were like a blade, cutting off the sword threads inch by inch. Under the encirclement of 2 types of power, the flower water sword threads completely had no way out. Ancestor Qianli immediately sensed the connection between himself and the flying swords was instantly severed, unexpectedly unable to interact in the slightest. He could not help but be enormously shocked. Heavenly Water Heart Flame. Just what is your relationship with Zhu Yueka? 6. Fang Xangu rushed to Bloody Centipede Valley. Each of his and Zheng Yanran's star crests flickered, mutually shining in order to withstand the Bloody Centipede Valley's nasty miasma. Raising his head, he saw the duel between Su Xing and Ancestor Qianli. His eyeballs nearly fell out, he had not seen wrong, had he? Su Xing actually battled with this old monster Ancestor Qianli on even ground, even taking up a dominant position. So incredible. Zheng Yanran quivered, and she could not help but praise. Using Su Xing's galaxy stage cultivation to be able to contend against a supercluster cultivator's attacks was at first somewhat beyond reason. Now, the powers in mutual combat were not hard to make the fair-skinned gentleman amazed. His abilities are not bad, but this certainly cannot kill Ancestor Qianli. The corner of different star fair-skinned gentleman Zheng Yanran's lips slightly frowned. She rolled up her sleeves, clenched the jade dragon misfortune snow. Cousin, please wait here for a bit. Yanran, are you actually going? Fang Xangu said in amazement, are you sure? Cousin, relax. He is only a supercluster old monster. Yanran also sees that old fart is annoyed. How could Yanran miss the opportunity to cut him when he is down? Zheng Yanran laughed into her sleeve. Saying nothing more, she turned around and slinked away. Let alone that Zheng Yanran was petite and exquisite, but her skills were strong, carrying a steadfastness and experience in complete disagreement with her age. Fang Xingu gazed at Su Xing, unexpectedly able to contend against a supercluster old monster without relying on a star general, and could not help but be very amazed. However, when he thought that he, too, was a star master, the treasures he wanted nevertheless were funded by Su Xing, leaving his heart helpless. 7. This star duel honestly was man against man, infuriating to death. Truly troublesome. Wu Xiu's unhappy voice resounded. Ancestor Qianli controlled his flying sword to go attack. At this time, because his flower essence sword was broken, he hastily called it back. Su Xing's escape technique activated, and he controlled heaven tearing to directly attack. Ancestor Qianli genuinely was nearly insane with anger. Had he ever been completely put into so difficult a situation by a single galaxy cultivator? It was too late for more thought as he controlled the completely blue Jade Rui. The Jade Rui suddenly protected and concentrated slightly to his front. At the same time, he waved his hand, and small seals sprayed in the 4 directions. In the midst of multicolored light, it became a green light that smashed directly towards Wu Xiu. Compared to Su Xing getting close to him, he evidently took more consideration of the harmed star pilgrim Wu Song. There was an enormous boom, and Wu Xiu coldly laughed. She completely lacked hesitation and attacked the jade seal. Black rays and green light intertwined, but the black qi waned and swelled in between, crushing the multicolored light. The jade seal whooshed, flying to one side, reversing its direction back to ruthlessly pound Ancestor Qianli. Ancestor Qianli was astonished, and his hands hastily formed seals. Only after several seals were struck in quick succession did this make the jade seal shooting towards his defenses gradually stop. However, with this moment's delay, Wu Xiu already arrived in front of him, her jet black sword tip carrying snow appearing right in front of the barrier, slashing downwards. The barrier was abruptly jolted, and Ancestor Qianli only felt a tremendous power come from his front. At once, even his own person wearing the defensive cover was sent flying. However, Ancestor Qianli was worthy of the name of the blooming water sword sex old monster, for he was extremely experienced with battling others. Before he was sent flying, he unexpectedly rushed to shake his sleeve. A blooming water divine thunder then suddenly shot out, directly launched at Wu Xiu. Wu Xiu's cold as ice and frost beauty hooked on a disdainful smile. When she saw the blooming water divine thunder that was like a sharp sword hacked down from above, Wu Xiu basically did not have intentions of dodging. On the contrary, she suddenly breathed in, raised her double-headed sword at the blooming water divine thunder above her, and then the noble frost demonic lotus black sword qi sprayed forth. The blooming water divine thunder struck the black sword qi, and immediately, the divine thunder was twisted and wrapped up by this sword qi. The thunderlight on the divine thunder could only moan and flicker a few times. Then, it had been cleanly extinguished. Suddenly, it vanished into thin air. When Ancestor Qianli saw this, his expression was even more unsightly. He had used this blooming water divine thunder at full power without leaving any leeway. Even if it was to handle an ordinary magic weapon, it would still have enough to spare, but he had not expected that the harmed star was valiant far beyond his imagination. Looking at the noble frost demonic lotus 3 gorgeous stars, Ancestor Qianli's heart sunk to a low point. He even thought of fleeing. Wu Song's fame for combat was shocking to the extreme, especially at this time that was already the 3rd phase of the prologue. How could Ancestor Qianli dare confront her? Wu Xiu's figure flashed, seemingly leaning where she was. Huqi, a cool elegance flashed through. In the blink of an eye, she had arrived in front of Ancestor Qianli with another sword attack. Ancestor Qianli's completely blue rui cracked, the mighty power sending Ancestor Qianli's body flying away. Wu Siyou moved, and then she flashed to underneath Ancestor Qianli. The noble frost demonic lotus sword tip flowed like quicksilver, slashing downwards. In an instant, the Ancestor Qianli who was incapable of blocking had been turned into a sandbag repeatedly struck flying. That jade rui honestly was a top-notch defensive magic weapon. Although the aura of dark green light flickered incessantly, under the immense ravaging strength of Wu Siyou's 3-star weapon, it unexpectedly still had not been broken for the time being. It made Wu Siyou unable to help but lightly exclaim in surprise from her own mouth, but the attack in her hands did not stop in the slightest. One slash after another, she did not stop for a moment. Ancestor Qianli at this moment was greatly afraid in his heart. Being closed in on by the pilgrim, Ancestor Qianli simply completely lacked the power to retaliate. After a dozen or so slashes, the defensive aura that Jade Rui released finally dimmed. The Jade Rui's cracks increasingly grew in number. Ancestor Qianli's heart thudded, directly sinking. A sneer flashed across Ancestor Qianli's face. A figure flashed by, the double-headed sword crisscrossing up and down, the offensive not diminishing. The harm star closed in with every step, not giving him any chances. Ancestor Qianli's face was like ash. He watched as his protection was about to be struck open. He abruptly grit his teeth and pressed something underneath his clothes on his chest. His plan was reckless, to do his utmost against the opponent. Wu Song, do not be savage. Ancestor Qianli used his flying sword to battle Su Xing, and from his chest, he felt out a talisman. This talisman's entire body was of multicolored light, emitting an immortal qi. Sect supreme grade cultivators like supercluster ancestors, when they reached this realm, the magic weapons they were most expert with generally were those that protected their lives while the others were not placed in their view. Furthermore, besides a few special talismans or supreme-grade talismans, those simply were no longer valued, and this talisman of Ancestor Qianli's was supreme-grade based on its appearance. The talisman fragmented. Multicolored light exploded, becoming a haze that enveloped Wu Siyou within. That multicolored light covered her, and Wu Siyou suddenly felt her figure sink, her movements unconsciously greatly slowing. Die! Ancestor Qianli malevolently laughed. He rubbed his hands together, and then he raised them both. A dozen more red flickering and long burning talismans were shot from his hands. They shot straight at the Wu Siyou still being trapped by the multicolored haze. These talismans instantly arrived above Wu Siyou. Under the urging of Ancestor Qianli, they successively exploded. Explosions rumbled continuously without stop. A large expanse of thunder fire appeared, and then it pressed directly downwards, becoming the mouth of a ferocious beast about to swallow Wu Siyou. Just during the time he was satisfied he could kill Wu Siyou, suddenly, he saw the surroundings soar with divine light and propitious vapors. The serene blue steamed, the qi rolled and rolled, this clear drizzle of blue light was like a flowing galaxy that cleanly broke his two supreme-grade talismans instantly, multicolored red cloud seal talisman, 2, and desolate fire-devouring beast talisman. 3. Seeing this scene, Ancestor Qianli cried out loudly. Bullying my waifu, you must not want to live anymore. Su Xing shook the miraculous Bodhi tree, abruptly closing in. Heaven tearing attacked and slashed Ancestor Qianli. A white shadow also pounced out, a claw ripping open. Consecutively receiving two heavy attacks, Ancestor Qianli's energy was greatly reduced. Bastard! This ancestor must destroy you. Ancestor Qianli shouted loudly. He again unleashed a blooming water divine thunder, and then he turned around and fled. Just when he turned and ran, he suddenly saw a girl appear in front of him. She wore an ash-gray golden cup chrysanthemum dress, the wide sleeves reaching the ground. Her hand hefted a jade sword, her hair was bundled and was like snow, a frivolous appearance. Different star fair-skinned gentleman Zheng Yanran. Seeing the rank 74th earthly star also dared to obstruct him, strutting around right in front of him, Ancestor Qianli truly had rage written across his whole face. He raised a flying sword to slash at Zheng Yanran. The damned star generals can all go die. Zheng Yanran lifted her eyelids, as if she had waited for a long time. Her left hand covered her yawn, and her right clutched the jade dragon misfortune snow. Her two legs slightly parted, a forked stance. Ancestor Qianli arrived in the blink of an eye. Zheng Yanran lightly chuckled. Contempt for star generals certainly is not good. Zheng Yanran seemingly had a slight bowing movement, naturally as if she was watering a plant. Her hand neither quickly nor slowly raised the straight saber as she held the shaft. In the middle of her lifting her hand, she turned her wrist. Stroking her palm, every one of her movements was clean, so simple they would make others overlook her. Cold light swept over. The saber went out, then it returned. A resounding noise. Ancestor Qianli lowered his head and was already overwhelmed with shock to see his stomach had been ripped apart with a wound. That speed unexpectedly was fast to the point he was unable to see it clearly. Ancestor Qianli was in disbelief. He had seen Zheng Yanran step and slowly raise her hand. All of her movements were natural, like a little bird properly soaring in the sky, a fish properly breathing in the water. The supercluster stage's unbroken defenses were ripped open in the blink of an eye. This moment seemed as if water could be sliced apart. Underestimating your servant certainly would lead to suffering. The girl slightly laughed as she informed him. Dark rank saber technique. Saber draw water cutter. The Star General's star magic was dark rank and capable of breaking a supercluster, but his stage could break supervoid. Although Zheng Yanran's martial force was slightly lacking, due to the protective jade rui having been broken, Zheng Yanran's saber had nearly taken Ancestor Qianli's tiny life. But it was just about there. This saber directly tore apart all of Ancestor Qianli's thoughts. Ancestor Qianli took a step back, just barely a step back. Zheng Yanran was just about to draw her saber. A sword tip ran through Ancestor Qianli's chest from behind, like ink flecked with snow, a penetrating cold light. Hey! Su Xing also rushed forth, the heaven-tearing metal element sword slashing. Even if Ancestor Qianli was the Deluo Golden Immortal at this moment, he could only powerlessly return to heaven. In his shock and astonishment, Ancestor Qianli swayed for a long time before he fell where he was, dying just like that. Zheng Yanran, many thanks. Su Xing nodded towards her, unceremoniously using his sword to prod Ancestor Qianli's corpse and seized his astral bag. This Ancestor Qianli was known as a sect founder, but confronting star generals he was still utterly frail. Shall we divide it together? Su Xing shook the bag. Suddenly, he was taken aback. He noticed Zheng Yanran currently hung a pondering smile, her gaze completely focused on Wu Siyou. The harm star pilgrim Wu Song was also engrossed gazing at her. Their eyes faced one another, seeing some kind of thing that was far from encouraging. Waifu? Little sister Yanran, you are not. Su Xing was speechless. Suddenly, at this moment, Fang Xiangu's scream came from behind. Su Xing turned his head and spotted that blood jade centipede brandishing its fangs and claws, wisps of blood wafting in and out. Fang Xiangu was somewhat in a difficult situation holding it back, his artifacts being corrupted one after another. When Su Xing saw this, his figure flashed past, raising his flying sword to slash. This blood jade centipede was known as a 5 poisons type. Its soul was something Su Xing also aspired as a must-have. Clang! A deafening loud sound, and Su Xing's metal element flying sword heaven tearing had already stabbed into the blood jade centipede's head portion. Pfft! Bright red bloodlight sprayed into the air. The blood jade centipede spewed blood, and Su Xing's figure fluttered like a pinwheel. Sweeping across, it was firmly kicked away. The blood jade centipede rolled in midair, its frightening red figure already visible as it spouted great swathes of poison blood. Just as Su Xing was about to destroy this blood jade centipede, it was at this moment a figure flashed in front of him. White hair rising, Zheng Yanran attacked. The straight saber's blossoming ice-cold saber rays were like an abyss streaking across the blood jade centipede's body. It became modeled on this ugly monster's body, and the saber chi happened to exploit the crack already split open. In an instant, wind pressure squeezed from inside and out, forming the imposing air of a grinding machine. Boom! The blood jade centipede screeched, and Su Xing was blunt. The golden sword fell, ripping the blood jade centipede into pieces. Storing its soul, Su Xing breathed out. "Brother Fang, are you all right?" Fang Xangu shook his head. He did not know at all that Su Xing had been the purple thunder monster all along, so he had no misgivings whatsoever. On the contrary, he cupped his hands in admiration. Brother Su truly is a master that does not reveal himself, this Fang admires. "Yanran, we are going," Fang Xangu said when he saw this. Zheng Yanran nodded her head, yet she walked to Wu Xiu's front, hanging an engrossed smile. "Has elder sister Siyou signed a contract? Do you feel your servant would sign a contract?" Wu Xiu asked in return. Zheng Yanran glanced at Su Xing, as if she was pondering the relationship of Wu Xiu becoming the purple thunder monster's wife. Zheng Yanran was not overly puzzled like the other cultivators. She was intelligent, instantly mentioning by name. According to the relationship between elder sister Siyou and Lin Chong, it appears that elder sister Siyou wishes to make elder brother Su Xing prove something that you would come to the Vermilion Bird territory using the guise of a married couple. Wu Xiu's eyes stared. Su Xing's brows rose. This Zheng Yanran actually was bright of mind, having guessed just about right. Seeing that Zheng Yanran's saber technique was superb, that move just now was a saber technique swift to the extreme that Su Xing only felt his eyes were dazzled. If it was himself, he feared he would suffer great misfortune. When he confronted the fiery-eyed Swanenai, Su Xing had a bit of luck contending against a star general, but seeing that Zheng Yanran had only just used that one move, his heart was inwardly on guard, not daring to be careless. The fair-skinned gentleman in the original 108 was of the category whose martial force could be neglected, but it seemed she was abnormally powerful this star duel. Not only was her star weapon 3-star, her realm was also approaching 10,000 techniques. As far as rankings for the earthly stars ranked 70 and above, they could count as commendable. Su Xing thought so as well, for legend said that although each generation of star duels had their own foundations, the star maidens of each generation's star duels were all the same in possessing different talents. An unknown earthly star with preeminent martial force appearing in the 108 was not impossible. If this was all according to rankings, then from a martial force perspective, these star duels completely were under the rule of a few people. Seeing Zheng Yanran's every movement was absent-minded, every word and action actually caused some pressure. Evidently, she was very self-confident. "Brother Fang, just how did little sister Yanran become your cousin?" Taking advantage of the time the two were faced off, Su Xing then curiously asked Fang Xingu. "It is a long story." Fang Xingu's handsome face showed slight difficulty. Su Xing clicked his tongue. This guy showed a sad appearance that perhaps would throw a multitude of young women into a frenzy. He was originally so handsome, and unexpectedly even contracting the fair-skinned gentleman that could make 1 foot appearance become even more handsome. This honestly was heaven's favor. Only after hearing Fang Xingu's story did Su Xing know that Zheng Yanran turned out to be a distant relative's niece that followed along Fang Xingu's older brother, Fang Xinsan. As for the specific reason, that was unknown. However, Fang Xingu's older brother Fang Xinsan was a formidable and distinguished sword cultivator. His sword techniques were extremely superb, enough that he could contend against a star general. He handed Zheng Yanran over to Fang Xingu without saying anything, only that he needed to learn through experience and wanted him to look after Zheng Yanran. It was actually this simple. Afterwards, Zheng Yanran wished to go to the Vermilion Bird territory, and Fang Xingu followed along. During that time with the Devil Mask clan, Fang Xingu indeed absolutely did not expect this seemingly frail girl would be a legendary star general, besides being one with frightening martial force. I think elder brother gave her to your servant to look after, probably because he wanted to let Yanran see whether or not your servant could become her master. Fang Xangu bitterly smiled. Oh. Su Xing did not feel this was odd at all. According to Fang Xiangu's words, his older brother Fang Xinsan should have been a sword cultivator for a very long time, but it was unknown how his martial force was. Seeing Zheng Yanran dispose of things so rapidly, he wondered whether or not she had received Fang Xinsan's instruction to be this outstanding. If this was the case, he really could not have contempt for them. Then do you plan to participate in the star duels? I am somewhat thinking of giving up. Fang Xiangu looked at Su Xing and forced a smile. He actually was not a person without courage. Liangshan continent's star duels were famous and brilliant legends. Even if they were absolutely deadly, they were still the lifelong dreams of cultivators. Originally, Fang Xiangu had wanted to have great success, but seeing Su Xing's incredible abilities that he would dare stand off against two supercluster ancestors, Fang Xiangu then realized the gap between them. Only this level of courage could count as a genuine star masters, and he completely was inadequate. Su Xing was somewhat embarrassed. He felt that he himself was purely an exceedingly cheat existence. Of course, these sorts of words could not be said, however, he did not want to become enemies with Fang Xiangu. At the same time, other than he, Zhao Hanyan and Gong Kaiwei were people he also very much did not want to become enemies. Hearing Fang Xiangu's words, it was only then he profoundly understood that if he participated in the star duels, this cruelty was inevitable and incapable of being averted. Brother Su Xing, can this Fang be so bold as to ask a question? Fang Xiangu looked at Su Xing with uncertainty, very complex. Naturally, he did not know Su Xing's thinking at this moment. There was a question that had always been stifled in the pit of Fang Xiangu's stomach somewhat uncomfortably. What question? Su Xing smiled. That majestic star panther head Lin Chong, did brother Su Xing actually contract her? Fang Xiangu curiously asked. Looking again at the cool and elegant Wu Siyou, his expression had a sort of completely puzzled look. She has some matters to attend to. As for Wu Siyou, she indeed is your servant's waifu. 2. You also know that she and Lin Chong have a pretty good relationship. Su Xing laughed. Fang Xiangu's pupils stared at the boss, and then he made a thumbs up. From start to finish, he had evolved worship from the bottom of his heart. Two legends of Liangshan continent's 1,000 years unexpectedly both are brother Su Xing's women. Brother Su Xing truly is a god. At this time, Zheng Yanran and Wu Siyou that had been standing opposite of each other finally had a result. The result did not go beyond Su Xing's expectations. What? Yanran must not, you want to have a star duel with Wu Song? Fang Xiangu was scared pale. That was but the overlord of the previous generation, and right now, she also had a star beast beside her. Wu Siyou stroked the white and black unicorn tiger, her eyes extremely indifferent. Su Xing walked over and asked, Waifu, do you truly want to fight with her? Wu Siyou was calm and easy. The corner of her mouth wore a slight curve, and this sort of curve brimmed with a challenging nature. Very rarely is there a completely uncharacteristic star general. Did you see just now? This different star fair-skinned gentleman Zheng Yanran's martial force is not bad, brimming over with talent. There are only a few altogether in the 108 sisters. Since she wants to star duel, your servant naturally shall accompany her to the end. Wu Siyou harumphed. Su Xing could discern Zheng Yanran's disposition. Her appearance was frivolous, but inside her bones actually was a type of innate arrogance. By means of her methods out of the norms for earthly stars, wishing to challenge Wu Siyou was within reason. It was just that looking at things this way, Zheng Yanran absolutely was not able to handle the current Wu Siyou. The fair-skinned gentleman Zheng Yanran's sole advantage perhaps was that dark rank saber technique. Each rank of star generals' battle techniques were boundlessly mighty. At the earth rank, they could contend against a supervoid cultivator, and at the heaven rank, even transforming stars of annihilation needed to be somewhat afraid of the consequences. By means of Zheng Yanran's 3-star destined weapon, along with that excellent martial force, if paired with her dark rank saber technique, this truly made Su Xing somewhat worried. Earthly Star's star magics were but capable of consecutive usage. Waifu, is this fine? She has the dark rank saber technique. Do you want me to help you? Su Xing asked. What? Is that person not your friend? Wu Siyou thoughtfully smiled. Su Xing laughed out loud. I did not say we need to kill him, however, waifu is the most important. Do not speak pleasant words, your servant will not fall for them. Wu Siyou waved her hand and walked directly to the center of the canyon. Fang Xiangu was fruitless in dissuading her and could only step back. The two might as well have reached the limit with this star duel. Purely probing her, Wu Siyou actually disdained to truly kill her. However, it was always unavoidable that elder sisters sometimes needed to teach bold little sisters a lesson. Elder sister Siyou, let me win. Zheng Yanran covered her mouth and laughed. Your servant shall give you a hard-to-forget lesson. Wu Siyou calmly said, use every trick you have. Little sister is indeed dreaming, thinking she can defeat the previous overlord, Wu Song. Zheng Yanran's eyes instantly turned cold. That moment was similar to a demon king possession. The golden cup chrysanthemum dress moved on its own without wind, and Zheng Yanran flashed by. The first slash was just like a ray of light. While the fog had not receded, a cold net tore it open. It bore all of the best qualities of Zheng Yanran's fighting prowess, lacking any holes and of the highest quality. The first slash let Su Xing know this girl indeed was not an ordinary earthly star martial general. The concentrated atmosphere was stirred up by the ripping cold light of the saber tip. It released an indistinct whistling sound. The tip that was almost in reach was just like a bloodthirsty fang, like a fracturing sheet of ice. Floating snow fragmented, and this saber was completely chilly to the bone. Astonishingly, it was Zheng Yanran's saber technique. Icebreaker Snow Slicer. Su Xing stared fixedly on the battle between the two. All of the battles between star generals of different styles to Su Xing could provide enormous benefit to learning from experience of the martial force of star generals. He naturally would not miss this great opportunity. In Su Xing's eyes, he saw the flat flames of Wu Siyou's gaze. That simple expression was like a weak and sharp razor, brimming with disdain towards this technique. She lightly raised her hand, and the noble frost demonic Lotus was waved to block. The double-headed sword was raised to chest level without any fancy movements. In the next instant, the time between the two was just like it was frozen. Black sword chi then gushed out. Wu Siyou stepped forward, and this step was so practiced. The speed was even faster. Zheng Yanran's pupils shrunk. Icebreaker Snow Slicer slashed open the black sword chi, yet it was incapable of obstructing Wu Siyou's swift and severe pace. The pilgrim already flew forward, one palm falling and striking Zheng Yanran's shoulder. The girl slid backwards, yet she still maintained her impregnable defensive stance. She appeared to be very adept, and she carried slight approval on the corner of her mouth. Not bad. Yanran had even thought this slash could bring elder sister trouble, is that so? Wu Siyou indifferently said. She flung her arm, suddenly shooting over with her sword. Right now was her time to counterattack. Elder sister will not use her yellow rank sword technique? That certainly is somewhat dangerous. Zheng Yanran's brows rose, sneering very coldly. In the next instant, accompanied with a slashing motion, Wu Siyou's afterimage emerged, real and fake indistinguishable. The shadow of a hurricane reaching several hundred meters wide violently shot out from the sword tip. It directly pounced towards the fair-skinned gentleman Zheng Yanran. Even if it was a pure attack, this sword chi's imposing air was not inferior to her yellow rank sword technique. Zheng Yanran hastily withdrew a step, raising her sword to block. The black sword chi seemed to press down on Zheng Yanran from every direction. In that instant, the girl's defenses nearly were collapsed. The fair-skinned gentleman showed an astounded expression, and her straight saber cut down the sword chi. Bang! The power directly sent her flying. The jade dragon Misfortune Snow released a whistling dragon cry that was almost cut short. Wu Siyou did not pursue an attack, standing proudly upright. Zheng Yanran's smile was somewhat unresigned. This was a Heavenly Star Marshal General's slash. So awesome! Su Xing also slightly exclaimed. Wu Siyou's full power slash did not use any styles at all, but this slash was completely more imposing than Zheng Yanran's yellow rank saber technique, Icebreaker Snow Slicer. This was the strength of a super powerful Heavenly Star Marshal General. That really was not innate talent but could fill in the gaps of her weaknesses. Su Xing seemed to slightly understand why Zheng Yanran was determined to star duel with Wu Siyou. Was this not a good opportunity to see clearly the differences in her own strength? Zheng Yanran's smile completely stiffened, her gaze fully grave. Jade Dragon Misfortune Snow glinted with a luster. Let little sister properly experience what power the previous Overlord Star General has. Elder sister has so far, but let little sister feel merely so. Jade Dragon Misfortune Snow repeatedly launched an offensive, stiflingly suppressing Wu Siyou. Wu Siyou's ice-cold shadow seemed to rip apart space. In the next instant, that noble frost demonic Lotus had already stopped the attack path of Jade Dragon Misfortune Snow. Horizontal cuts, sudden thrusts, slashing attacks, Wu Siyou easily turned the tables. Zheng Yanran gasped, stepping repeatedly backwards. Her excellent judgment and skill immediately made the different star who seized the initiative defenseless. The noble frost demonic Lotus slashed down with the speed of a flash, a butterfly flitting through the flowers. Zheng Yanran also was very incredible. Under Wu Siyou's forcefulness, she did her utmost to defend, both sides wandering over the entire canyon of blood. From time to time, the atmosphere was carried along by the sharp sword and saber. Then, it immediately produced a bleak and miserable ripping sound. The surrounding red miasma was pressed open by the unstoppable force. A biting cold light and a figure carrying afterimages brought on an overwhelming dominance. The Zheng Yanran whose body was at the center of the shadow was just like she was going against a mountain-like pressure. A point of cold light suddenly streaked before her eyes, and there was a crisp sound. Finally, Wu Siyou halted her attack. She still had an easygoing manner, as if she were reviewing. Wu Siyou chuckled, with the meaning of having some newfound respect for the different star. Can your servant ask you a question? Your saber technique actually has somewhat of a shadow of a sword cultivator. Could it be you have a master? Master? Zheng Yanran laughed aloud. Her gaze was derisive. Just who in this world can be the master of a star general? Wu Siyou slightly shook her head. As far as earthly stars were concerned, the things the little sisters needed to learn honestly were too many. Little sister's dark rank saber technique still has not been used. If I accidentally kill elder sister, you must not blame little sister. Zheng Yanran licked her lips. Dark rank saber technique, your servant is also very curious. Wu Siyou did not have contempt at all. She raised her sword, suddenly saying, however, elder sister will give you a lesson. Before her sentence was finished, the attack was launched. A clump of ice-cold light enveloped Zheng Yanran. Wu Siyou's sword tip was already pointed directly at the target, and in the middle of the sharp noise of the sword tip cutting the air, a demon appeared. Falling directly head-on. Everything in the surroundings instantly seemed to freeze with a crackle. Zheng Yanran had not yet come to her senses. In the previous instant, she still was brandishing her straight saber with metallic stiffness. The air was not circulating, energy had ceased transmitting, and the cold and detached sword light of Harm Star Wu Siyou appearing to be like a specter thus arrived before Zheng Yanran. The bloody Centipede Valley's wind had seemingly disappeared. Wu Siyou's high-speed strike seemingly made time stop. Harm Star Pilgrim Wusong. This slash was exceptionally terrifying. Time and space both seemed to freeze, and Zheng Yanran felt unable to throw it off and was completely defenseless. This type of most direct top-notch battle that star generals experienced probably was like this, right? Zheng Yanran suddenly liked this sort of feeling very much. In the instant she saw the truth, Wu Siyou already did not give her the slightest margin for reflection. In the eternity of this instance, Zheng Yanran also discovered she herself basically did not have any capability to evade. The elder sister in front of her, the harmed star, did not give her any chances. The cold light of frost and snow and lacquered black cut out a frightening mark in the air at extremely high speed, passing by Zheng Yanran's body like a tornado. It was only an instant, but Zheng Yanran's invulnerable defenses had been torn in half by the sharp line of light brought by the sword tip. Zheng Yanran's expression focused, her soft throat producing a scream. Her body flew out and was heavily thrown down. Do not speak nonsense. While you are still alive, use your special skill. Wu Siyou sneered. The way of the hegemon was biting cold. Astonishingly, it was the harm star's yellow rank style. Tenli demonic lotus dragon slaying. Yanran. Fang Xangu screamed. Go away. Zheng Yanran coldly shouted, getting up with difficulty. Wu Siyou's brows rose, as if she was somewhat surprised. A wound deep enough to show bone extended from Zheng Yanran's shoulder blade to her waist. Because contracted star generals possessed immortality and indestructible bodies, according to normal times, Wu Siyou's slash would have already cleaved her in two. However, the fair-skinned gentleman unexpectedly forcing herself back up and not entering the star nest still made Wu Siyou and Su Xing completely surprised. Do you still wish to fight? Wu Siyou flatly asked. This lesson of elder sisters, little sister has noted. Zheng Yanran panted, but little sister also wants to make elder sister remember this slash of Yanran's. Her hand grasped the saber hilt, already slightly trembling. It seemed as if she was barely holding on, but Zheng Yanran was very stubborn, abnormally resolute. Her legs widened their stance, surprisingly stirring up the fog with her long saber without the slightest trace of killing intent. Her whole body seemed to fuse with the saber, emitting a sharply imposing aura. Wu Siyou wore an expression of praise. For the fair-skinned gentleman to be able to have this sort of imposing air meant she definitely could someday compete with a heavenly star. Such a little sister appearing among the earthly stars, Wu Siyou was very interested to what level she could reach. Wu Siyou calmly walked towards her, the noble frost demonic lotus slightly revolving. Just when Wu Siyou stepped into her range, Zheng Yanran's eyes moved and her wrist thrust out. Clink-clang, the saber edge unsheathed. A cold light swept across 100 chi, and the valley split open with a trail of ice-cold light, swift to the extreme. It was astonishingly dark rank saber technique. Saber draw water cutter. Wu Siyou moved at the same time. Fast, even faster. Her figure became a phantom. The resounding saber edge had yet to return when it was seemingly blocked by Wu Siyou. Zheng Yanran once again made a move. The saber went out, then came back. The afterimage was stirred to pieces, but Wu Siyou completely vanished from before her. When Zheng Yanran sensed that chilliness behind her, the different star fair-skinned gentleman was already powerless from saber draw water cutter. Her entire body lost its strength, and the noble frost demonic lotus supported her neck. Jade dragon misfortune snow stuck into the ground, and Zheng Yanran half knelt where she was, already gasping for breath. Truly unresigned about this, she softly muttered to herself. Zheng Yanran entered the star nest, and Fang Xiangu excessively expressed his thanks as he took his leave. The imminent 10,000-year Gu was fine, but he had no interest in Five Poisons Mountain. When he bade farewell to Su Xing, the sort unswerving determined radiance his expression had made Su Xing feel great admiration. Fang Xiangu showed his own determination in fighting for the star duels. Su Xing smiled, for he could tell that Zheng Yanran doing her utmost like this already influenced Fang Xiangu, making him heavily shake his confidence. Everyone said Star Masters concerned themselves with the destiny of Star Generals' lives, but Star Generals also could influence the lives of their Star Masters, and who could decide that? In fact, it was not just him, but Su Xing also was moved by Zhen Yanran. A Star General viewed as completely lacking martial force being able to make it to this level, Su Xing completely admired her. You will not kill her. This Star Master someday will be a strong foe. Wu Siyou pensively said. Then I shall look forward to the day. Su Xing smiled. Seeing that the snow-white skin of Wu Siyou's arm had a subtle cut extending several chi, it appeared that her final saber draw water cutter still gave Wu Siyou trouble. After all, it was a dark rank saber technique. You're injured. Su Xing lifted Wu Siyou's arm, taking out medicine and spreading it on the wound. Wu Siyou stared blankly, somewhat having not anticipated this sort of act of Su Xing's. She wanted to shrug off this man, but when she saw Su Xing's serious expression, his gentle movements, she let this man do this for the moment. Are you always like this? Wu Siyou faintly asked. What? Having learned medical arts from Ansuan, receiving the efficacious star's influence, Su Xing's technique was exceptionally tender. Nothing. Wu Siyou pursed her lips. Waiting until Su Xing finished, she then drew back her arm. Do not be this troublesome over this tiny wound later. Your servant is accustomed to this. You're my wifey, too. Caring about this is what I'm supposed to do. Su Xing mocked. Humph. Wu Siyou was disinclined to argue needlessly with this man. Su Xing raised his head to gaze at Wu Siyou, saying, I never thought you would be so good at taking care of your little sisters. How could Wu Siyou not have deliberately evoked Zhen Yanran's potential just now? Otherwise, that final dark rank saber technique saber draw water cutter was a move Wu Siyou simply did not have to go meet. Do not speak nonsense. Now that the two ancestors are dead, what do you plan to do? Wu Siyou turned her head. She suddenly had a sort of very fidgety feeling, and she did not know whether this was the Bloody Canyon's oppressive atmosphere. Wu Siyou very much had the urge to leave the side of this man, for she found that the longer she stayed with him, her heart was increasingly somewhat not too right. Su Xing looked at the other end of the canyon, saying without the slightest hesitation, of course it's to continue. However, wifey, you can stay here. If Five Poisons Mountain was considered to be Bloody Centipede Canyon, then the preceding, Poison Dragon Swamp, Scorpion Barrenness, and Toad Black River, meant they already passed through 4 poisons. Then the final poison was the spider or the gecko. Since they had already reached this stage, Su Xing of course could not possibly shrink back. Moreover, that 10,000-year goo was something Su Xing certainly was very interested in. You feel you truly can fight over the 10,000-year goo with a supervoid cultivator? Perhaps that rock demon king would even appear. Wu Siyou thoughtfully asked. I have the jade pendant with me. If worst comes to worst and something happens, I'll escape. Actually, I worry about you, wifey. If you encounter the supervoid cultivator, escape is not easy for you, right? Su Xing was somewhat anxious. Last time, Supercluster late stages already was vivid in his mind. Your servant still does not require you to come worry. If something happens to wifey, I naturally cannot possibly cast you aside. Su Xing shook his head. Wu Siyou's brows rose. She waved her hand, annoyed. Su Xing, do not say these sorts of pleasant words, your servant will not fall for these. Siyou, I am being very serious. Su Xing's expression was very serious. You stay behind, I can just go by myself. Wu Siyou wrinkled her brow. Your servant is within your gaze. Could it be you are someone greedy for life, afraid of death? 3. She immediately shook her head. Since you want to go, your servant naturally will accompany you to the end. Then I still have another way to get the best of both worlds. If you want to make your servant sign a contract with you, you need not speak rubbish. Wu Siyou disdainfully said, a look that said, I will know what kind of shit you are spouting when your ass sticks out. Su Xing blushed in shame. Wifey, could it be that you truly do not want to be together with me? Even if it isn't for me, it is for being able to fight side by side with Ingmei. Su Xing still was unwilling to give up. When Wu Siyou heard Su Xing say, fight side by side, she stared blankly. She had to admit that the man before her often would say very pleasant words. You truly are maudlin, if you want to go, quickly go. Wu Siyou was annoyed to death. She straddled the white and black unicorn tiger in one step, and the white and black unicorn tiger meekly blinked, as if it was confused. Do not mind this man, let us go. Wu Siyou patted it. The white and black unicorn tiger glanced at Su Xing, cried, and then it immediately flew away like a white arrow. I'm gonna faint, she actually abandoned me. Su Xing was speechless. Tugging on his sleeves, he roused his spirit of loyalty and self-sacrifice. For the sake of happiness between Ingmei and your servant, sooner or later, Siyou genuinely must become your servant's wifey. 5. Do not hesitate to give it a try. From the horizon came a cold grunt, which left Su Xing hoarse. She heard from this far. Past Bloody Centipede Canyon was a gigantic mountain steaming with black qi. Hundreds upon thousands of caves spread all across the mountain, so tangled and complicated that Su Xing's eyes were dazzled just from looking. Before he came to Five Poisons Mountain, Su Xing had a bit of understanding that Five Poisons Mountain's fifth poison was known as Thousand Spiders Cave. In normal times, he could use a riding sword to fly past, but right now, the forbid dance had activated. It was necessary to pass through Thousand Spiders Cave in order to be able to reach the Jade Alum Palace. Su Xing glanced at Wu Siyou, but he did not say much of anything. Wu Siyou sat on the white and black unicorn tiger and entered the Thousand Spiders Cave. The two fully spread their divine intents, very carefully searching for the way out of the cavern. Thousand Spiders Cave produced 5 poison spiders in an abundance, and the cave's interior was spread full of sticky spider webs. These spider webs were incredible, for the incorporeal divine intents were clung onto by them on contact. The dozen golden flying swords revolved around Su Xing's body, spiraling up and down unfixed, grinding all of the countless spiders that pounced from everywhere into pieces. Each became wisps of black qi, and these spiders all were several inches in size, jet black all over, producing hissing sounds. When they spat, a tiny blade of wind shot violently towards Su Xing, but the golden light of all of the flying swords easily blocked it. These 1,000 corpse poison spiders filled the cave. When one fell, another took its place, as if they were endless. Su Xing's brows furrowed, becoming somewhat impatient. Due to the space being too small, Heaven Tearing was completely unable to fully display its might. Su Xing raised one hand, and his cuff shook out a large purple cloud. The purple cloud mixed with thunder and lightning and forged ahead in every direction. This was Su Xing's purple mansion True Star Immortal's thunder. The purple thunder and the 1,000 corpse poison spiders exploded on contact, as if a hurricane had rolled past. The 1,000 corpse spiders immediately fell one after another, and then they were swept clean in the blink of an eye. When Su Xing saw this, he stowed most of the flying swords so as not to waste star energy. Wu Siyou was actually happily relaxed. Circling through unknown numbers of caverns like this, he exterminated countless 1,000 corpse poison spiders and entered a very large cave. This chamber had a thick and dense spider web while the surrounding caverns produced bursts of evil winds. Su Xing's pupils glinted with purple light, and his gaze immediately directly saw through the black wind in every direction, seeing nearby areas very clearly. He could not help but softly exclaim in surprise as he walked in a certain direction. Wu Siyou's brow rose, and she walked to his side. What is the matter? Su Xing did not reply. He raised his hand, lighting a Taoist light talisman to clearly illuminate the several zhang nearby. The two raised their heads to look, and they could not restrain themselves from drawing in a breath. They saw that on web above them were several dozen densely packed skeletons bound together. These skeletons still wore every sort of robe, but because they lacked flesh, their white bones were entirely visible. From the looks of them, the struggle at death's door they had was seemingly still visible. This place unexpectedly had the skeletons of this many cultivators. Wu Siyou narrowed her eyes, pulling tight her cloak. Could it be that Lady Snake Scorpion is using cultivators to nurture the poison spiders? That shouldn't be. Su Xing at the same time gestured, and purple cloud true star shot forth. These spider webs were abnormally sturdy, and only when Su Xing used several purple cloud true stars did he cut them apart. An astral bag flew to his hand, and seeing the astral bag's items were intact, with more poison ingredients, this seemed to belong to a nebula cultivator. Su Xing guessed that probably some cultivators came to Thousand Spiders Cave to search for some things only to find danger. Careful, it seems this place has one powerful thing. Su Xing secretly ordered. Wu Siyou twitched her lips, not at all concerned. The cave Su Xing entered was very big, the spider webs linked into one. From time to time, an evil wind and black qi blew out from the surrounding cave entrances, carrying a cold that made his hair stand on end. A moment later, Su Xing saw a skeleton draped in a spider-patterned robe. His heart could not help but laugh. This seemed to be a cultivator that used poison arts, yet he was met with a poisonous death. As before, Su Xing maintained his principle of not being wasteful. He retrieved and untied this skeleton from the spider web, rolling up the astral bag on its waist. This seemingly was a galaxy cultivator's bag, for the inside had many poison arts secret texts. What is this? Su Xing exclaimed. Wu Siyou lowered her head. Su Xing took out a fragment from within the bag. This fragment was like glass, but it was exceptionally sparkling and pure, as if it was made of ice. When he held it in his hand, this piece of tiny fragment seemingly had something flash into their minds. Wu Siyou's pupils shrunk, clearly showing a shocked expression, but she very quickly recovered her indifferent appearance. Perhaps it is a fragment of some astral treasure. Su Xing could not clearly feel the history of the fragment. Storing it away, he set it aside for little sister Tang to look at. Who is there? Wu Siyou suddenly turned around, shouting. She raised her hand, the cold and elegant noble frost demonic lotus appearing in her hand, launching a sword light. With several rumbles, the spider webs flashed with black light. Several jet-black hands strangely appeared, the fingers moving. They flicked several sword lights easily away, then, the chilly wind blew hard, faintly revealing 4 or 5 shaky figures. Su Xing struck a talisman, and he was frightened. These silhouettes were worn out against the mummies on the spider webs, their white bones lacking flesh, but their bodies donned golden armor, their hands clutching spears and sabers. Evil qi emanated all over from head to foot, and they seemed to be somewhat powerful. Fuck. How did these mummies come to life? Su Xing did not understand. It is a deception. Wu Siyou sneered. She stepped and flew out, the white and black unicorn beside her simultaneously rushing forward. The skeletons abruptly took great strides forward. At the same time, they opened their mouths, and a fine thread of ash was spouted out, violently shooting towards Wu Siyou. Courting death. Wu Siyou's expression sunk, her mouth coldly harumphing. The long sword trembled, and chilly sword light violently shot out from the sword tip in succession. Soon after, she leapt, and that demonically elegant noble frost demonic lotus sword slashed empty space, an ice-cold sword qi mercilessly slashing. From Wu Siyou's perspective, these skeletons probably were monsters born of accumulated yin qi that simply were incapable of sustaining a single blow. And the result was that a shocking scene appeared. Several mummies shakily met Wu Siyou's attack. Their steps were messy, as if they were intoxicated drunkards, but the black qi accumulated from head to foot unexpectedly blocked Wu Siyou's sword qi. After a puff, several black threads suddenly twisted towards Wu Siyou. Like spirit snakes of darkness, soundless, they arrived in front of Wu Siyou in the blink of an eye. Wu Siyou furrowed her brow. Her sword light burned, severing the black threads inch by inch. Roar! The white and black unicorn's paw smacked one of the mummies, and that mummy unexpectedly bore the white and black unicorn's slap. The spider webs everywhere abruptly fought against the white and black unicorn's spirit light. Wu Siyou danced light as a lotus, crossing swords with two mummies. Their martial arts were not strong, but the black chi on their bodies was strange. Wu Siyou's sword tip stabbed into bone, but these mummies seemingly not dying made Wu Siyou's brows wrinkle. With a rustle, there was a sudden tremble, and several dozen skeletons on the spider webs all came to life, pouncing towards the three. A purple cloud fiercely whirled. It destroyed these mummies. But instantly, they once again continued to stand, brandishing swords, not feeling fatigue as they came chopping. This is, Wu Siyou's tone sunk. Su Xing came over. These are spider silk puppets, don't waste strength on them. His 10 fingers flicked, and Su Xing brought out heaven tearing. The golden swords became a thread, a dragon cry resounded, and sword light poured down in torrents. Wu Siyou and Su Xing lifted their heads to look, just happening to spot that on the cave's top, there was a massive spider with a queen's visage stuck on the wall in concealment. Its 8 spider legs lightly brandished its woven silk, a spider thread practically invisible to the naked eye linked to all of the skeletons. 1,000 Corpse Queen Spider. 2, Su Xing chuckled. His pores all seemed to have opened. The supreme grade spider queen of 5 poisons mountain spiders, this 5 poisons mountain deserves the name of a 5 poisons precious place, as expected, to have even this kind of terrible ancient creature. What are you excited for? Wu Siyou was displeased. This 1,000 corpse queen spider was but an ancient fearsome beast. Handling it absolutely would not be that easy. In this 1,000 spiders cave, perhaps no one could be its enemy. Nothing. Su Xing had just found a 5 poisons banner from the cultivator's astral bags. It happened to be a peak treasure forged using a 5 poisons beast. If it was used for Wu Xingjie and the others, it would actually be a very formidable protective magic weapon. However, this 5 poisons type 1,000 corpse queen spider was the most difficult to find. Thus, he became restless. Wu Siyou did not concern herself with him. Seeing that the white and black unicorn tiger had been ensnared by the 1,000 corpse queen spider's cobwebs, she coldly shouted, instantly attacking. The 1,000 corpse queen spider had a feminine face, yet its head had frightening compound eyes. Its delicate lips parted, and a black wind pounced directly ahead. This evil wind had countless phantoms within, release bursts of hair-raising ghostly weeps. Blowing on her body, Wu Siyou only felt her 4 limbs had sunk into a river of death, ice-cold to the extreme. She knew this was a type of fiend magic, so Wu Siyou operated her star energy, promptly retreating. Su Xing struck a hand seal, and the purple cloud true star became a sharp arrow that was fired. The 1,000 corpse queen spider opened its mouth, and its 8 legs drummed against stone. Its corpse chi became a whistling evil wind that fought with the purple cloud true star. Then, the corpse chi became a thread that unexpectedly swallowed the purple cloud true star, leaving Su Xing greatly surprised. Only because the 1,000 queen spiders swallowed at least 1,000 living souls did it get the name 1,000 corpse. The 1,000 corpse chi it spat was absolutely not inferior in might to the 5 spirits and such abilities practiced by cultivators. In addition, this 1,000 spiders cavern's yin chi was concentrated while also being the 1,000 corpse queen spider's home field. The yin chi it spat seemingly was made from heaven and earth, that Su Xing's purple chi true star was basically incapable of stopping it. Only then did Su Xing feel this was thorny. The 1,000 corpse queen spider at this time was still controlling hundreds of spider silk puppets to attack the two in a wave. At the same time, the 1,000 corpse chi unceasingly covered the cavern to block Su Xing and Wu Siyou's way out. Then it endlessly sprayed even more thousands threads of black spider silk to stick onto the two. Seeing its all kinds of tricks, it was just like it was not inferior to cultivators. Su Xing secretly seized the miraculous Bodhi tree. With one shake, the clear drizzle of blue light covering the sky was like a galaxy pouring in torrents. It swept across the poison chi, and Su Xing's heart inwardly hurt. He did not expect this ancient demonic creature to honestly be this troublesome, having made him eat 1,000 bells immortals do. However, as long as he could receive this 1,000-corpse queen spider's soul, everything would be worth it. Wu Siyou had a complete tacit understanding, stepping forward to slash. The Harm Star Pilgrim was extremely stunning, one slash breaking the spider silk. The 1,000-corpse queen spider then escaped at high speed along the spider webs that were everywhere, dodging out of the way of Wu Siyou's attack. This thing is indeed troublesome. Wu Siyou wrinkled her brow. She suddenly discovered Su Xing was very silent. She turned her head to look and could not help but stare blankly. She saw Su Xing cover his forehead, as if he was caught in a daydream. Not good, the girls are in trouble. What did you say? Wu Siyou stared blankly at Su Xing, somewhat not understanding him. In her experience, Su Xing was unlikely to go so far as to commit such a low-level mistake. The 1,000-corpse queen spider once again opened its mouth, spraying out an inescapable net of complete stickiness. Su Xing all of a sudden returned to his senses, abruptly losing his previous easygoing attitude. His eyes brimmed with detachment and an indescribable ice cold. His hand waved, and the clinging fire star domain sword burst out a heaven-overturning flame, burning down the spider's silk while also annihilating every cobweb. The 1,000-corpse queen spider moved rapidly along the wall, several dozen mummies cutting over without fatigue. Sword light broke. Wu Siyou was resolute. The skeletons and mummies shattered where they were, however, the 1,000-corpse queen spider only shook, and these mummies once again stood up. Wu Siyou was somewhat impatient, but that 1,000-corpse queen spider wandered everywhere in the cavern, spitting spider silk to its front, incapable of attack for a time. Truly troublesome. Wu Siyou's hand clenched the noble frost demonic lotus, the double-headed sword producing a light of deep cold that illuminated the cave. Su Xing motioned for heaven tearing, and the 12 golden swords unceasingly twisted apart the spider webs. The 1,000-corpse queen spider was spouting nets non-stop, layer upon layer of spider silk pressing towards Su Xing in an unending stream. The heaven-tearing golden swords already ripped unknown numbers of layers to pieces, but all along it could only move forward a bit. This 1,000-corpse queen spider was worthy of being called an ancient poison spider, its powers exceptional. If it was not for the heaven-tearing golden swords being a 9th-rank dragon-scale sword, ordinary flying swords could only be tangled by the spider webs. However, further stalemate was not a solution. Su Xing's mind was somewhat heavy. Gripping the green lotus peak he obtained from Taoist master Qinglian, he secretly waited for his chance, preparing to smash the spider. It was at this time he suddenly heard a cold snort. A sudden air-breaking sound. A bright, cold light in midair cut open a perfectly straight ray of light. Countless black lotus flowers seemingly had been ripped open. Snow light shot directly towards the 1,000-corpse queen spider, severing the spider webs inch by inch. The speed of the simply unstoppable cold light had instantly broke through the layers of spider webs. The 1,000-corpse queen spider wailed, and a sharp sword penetrated its mouth and directly pinned it to the wall. Su Xing stared in amazement. Wu Siyou had thrown the noble frost demonic lotus over. Hurry and go. Wu Siyou shouted. Su Xing nodded, saying nothing more. Heaven tearing immediately made a dragon cry, whooshing as it slashed. The sword chi unceasingly twisted the 1,000-corpse queen spider. This 1,000-corpse queen spider had black chi protecting its body, and for a time, the golden swords unexpectedly had no way through. Su Xing swallowed 1,000 bells immortals due, tossing the green lotus peak in his hand. Fortunately, the prehistoric spirit treasure did not require troublesome sacrifices, refinement was enough to make it usable. The green lotus peak suddenly swelled violently several dozen times, forming a hill of green lotuses that pressed towards the 1,000-corpse demon queen spider. The 1,000-corpse queen demon spider had been pinned by the noble frost demonic lotus, its 8 legs forcefully moving as it tried to flee. With great difficulty, it dragged out the noble frost demonic Lotus. The 1,000-corpse queen spider immediately flicked, and it fled to the nearest cave above, thinking of escaping first. Su Xing coldly grinned, striking a hand seal. The green lotus peak immediately escaped to above the 1,000-corpse queen spider and heavily crushed downwards. The 1,000-corpse demon spider produced spider silk in an all-out effort to stop it. The green lotus rumbled and pressed down upon the 1,000-corpse queen spider, immediately destroying its corpse completely, with not even half a breath left. The mummies controlled by the 1,000-corpse queen spider lost their threads, completely ruined. The green lotus peak turned small and returned to Su Xing's hand. This prehistoric spirit treasure truly was powerful. It was a pity the magic energy it consumed was not less than what the miraculous Bodhi tree would have taken. A soul flew out, and Su Xing completely did not hesitate to receive it. Having finished this, Su Xing panted, but he did not feel one bit relaxed at all. On the contrary, his expression had an impossible to get rid of graveness that made Wu Siyou completely puzzled. Having interacted so much, even though it was not for long, Wu Siyou quite understood the man in front of her very rarely showed this sort of serious expression, as if something dangerous was disturbing him. Gong Sun Huang sensed the difference in Su Xing, emerging to sit on Su Xing's shoulder, one hand stroking his cheek to give him comfort. Has Yingmei returned to the star nest? Wu Siyou's tone sunk. She very quickly could think that, given this man's personality, to be able to make him greatly change all of a sudden, perhaps there was only this reason. Su Xing shook his head, deeply inhaling. Let's quickly go to the Jade Alum Palace. Don't delay anymore, those people also should have arrived. An ice-cold figure blocked Su Xing's front, and Wu Siyou anxiously said. Did something happen to Yingmei? You don't believe in Yingmei? Su Xing lightly smiled, then, you just now. Fine, then. Suan returned to the star nest. Su Xing helplessly said. Wu Siyou was stunned. Lin Yingmei was left with Suan and the other girls. The efficacious star returning to the star nest signified something that naturally went without saying. How did this happen? They encountered a star general at Greencorn Mountain, and that star general used Greencorn Mountain's environmental characteristics to become very powerful. Su Xing bitterly smiled. And Suan had not yet completely knocked out, retaining a bit of clarity to briefly explain the situation clearly to Su Xing originally. Su Xing wanted to return immediately to the abode, however, rushing back was too late. Furthermore, Lin Yingmei, Wu Xinjie and Shi Yuan had not yet returned to the star nest to clearly say they were all right. Su Xing could only believe in them. The top priority was just to immediately finish the matter of the 10,000-year gu. Greencorn Mountain, that place has many metal stone thread bamboo. If it only was a bamboo forest, it would be unlikely for her to go as far as to becoming a threat. Could it be that Star General is? Wu Siyou's brows increasingly tightened. Su Xing shook his head, walking towards the exit of Thousand Spiders Cave without uttering a word. Greencorn Mountain, the bamboo sea everywhere swayed and rustled, rolling up a violently surging billows. The earth-shattering tune neatly played, unstoppable. The world of this range upon range of mountains seemingly had only this will-shaking song. The bamboo song resonated, and the valley echoed, sounding heartbreaking. Several dozen cold bamboo flying swords were brilliant in color, overcoming all obstacles. Their bloodlust under thread bamboo's bizarre song was all the more extreme. The fingers of the woman wearing green clothes delicately dances, and those several dozen flying swords then slashed with an all-important manner. The Cyclops Jinn puppet lifted its enormous fist, booming towards the flying swords, but the peace and happiness bamboo's song resonated to the peak, vaguely launching layers of cobweb-like green light. These green lights trapped this puppet, and the sword threads unceasingly slaughtered this Cyclops Jinn puppet. Although the Cyclops Jinn puppet had already lost its intelligence, that flute sound was like a substance that trapped the Cyclops Jinn, forcing it to be unable to move a single step. The green-clothed girl's flying swords slashed downwards. Countless sword lights shot out. The Cyclops Jinn with its defenses dissolved by the thread bamboo and then attacked by the woman instantly became a pile of scrap. Siyou's puppet banner ripped, and her expression was immediately unsightly. This green-corn mountain's myriad peace and happiness bamboo and the opposition's flying swords fused together, combining for a truly unstoppable spirit. Go! The green-clothed girl then conveniently pointed lightly at Siyou. The sword threads covering the sky shot over. Siyou's head incomparably hurt. The flute song blaring in her ears was seemingly deadly, attacking Siyou that she had no strength to fight back. The thief star flea on a drum was trapped by the tune, her star energy resistance also at its limit. You honor, force a star release. She heard Wu Xinjie anxiously shout in her ear. The star crest on Siyou's forehead flickered. She grit her teeth, for she nevertheless was unresigned to do so. The bamboo song descended the heavens, the sword threads rose in dance. Siyou retreated several steps in succession, finally powerless to support herself. Her forehead star crest seemingly shattered, and her figure immediately dissipated under the sword. Star release. The green-clothed woman was very surprised. You have signed a contract. The so-called star release was a sort of forced return to the star nest ability of contracted star generals. Of course, it was only that much better than being destroyed and sent back to the star nest. 2. I cannot understand. The green-clothed girl was completely confused how a contracted star general would be together with 3 other stars. Neither did she think more of it, for she shouted and pointed a finger. The sword array once again danced. Ing Mei. Wu Xinjie pressed Silver Blade's trigger. Bullets left the barrel, exploding in the sea of bamboo. The explosions considerably weakened the flute noise. Because she was the ranked 3rd heavenly star, Wu Xinjie actually could barely resist, but that devilish sound poured into her mind, currently nibbling slowly away at her star energy. If this continued, she would hit a dead end sooner or later. Lin Yingmei saw that Siyou had already star released, and her face became ice cold. Her figure swiftly moved in the bamboo sea. Wu Xinjie activated speed is a crucial asset in war. The majestic star's speed was even faster. The knowledge star. Humph. The green-clothed woman threw out an artifact. A silver-colored copper bell swelled in the wind. Dong, as a heavy and muffled bell sound was produced. But in the thread bamboo, it was seemingly a dot amidst the flute sounds. The volume was not loud, but the underside of the bell was directed towards Wu Xinjie. Her mind sunk, and her figure instantly almost fainted. Wu Xinjie staggered backwards, continuously firing bullets. The ice-kite Arctic bullets, 3, passed through Silver Blade's speed boost, leaving the barrel at speeds even faster. Cold light swept past, becoming ice birds. That annoying noise was greatly reduced in an instant. The green-clothed girl then pointed, and several dozen green sword chi were unloaded. Passing through the multitude of bamboo forests, the flute sound was like a shadow following her body. The star on Lin Yingmei's forehead resonated. She suddenly surged towards the sky, leaping 1,000 meters. In an instant, she had leapt into the skies. The flute sound and the bamboo sea suddenly were left far behind. On a precipice, Lin Yingmei spotted a delicate young girl currently closing her eyes and playing a horizontal flute. She wore a simple and elegant green muslin, wore elaborate jewelry. The wind brushed, showing her graceful figure as her long hair floated. Her forehead twinkled with a green star crest, and this star crest made a steady flow into that concert flute. That flute was forged from jade, a shining jadeite. It was carved with a simple decorative design, and along with the mellow flute sound. Countless jade lights passed through the flute's openings and flowed out, spreading across the entire valley. The peace and happiness bamboo amidst the flute sounds swayed and played a lulling tune. Phoenix cry wind compressing flute. It was the ranked 67th bright star iron flute deity Ma Lin. Accept death. Lin Yingmei horizontally held her spear, the blizzard on the spear tip circulating. It slashed downwards towards the Ma Lin whose eyes were closed playing the flute. Ma Lin opened her eyes, her green eyes showing a jade light. The flute sounds abruptly rushed, as if a powerful army of thousands of soldiers was going full speed ahead for the kill in a brimming conflict. This flute sound was just like countless golden spears endlessly attacking Lin Yingmei's whole body. Hey! The Arctic Star Serpent's spear carried a screaming, sudden snow and slashed. The bright star Ma Lin withdrew at a rapid pace, the flute sound uninterrupted. Countless sound waves squeezed Lin Yingmei from every direction. Lin Yingmei was just like a sharp sword stuck straight through the heart, suddenly ripping apart the sound waves wrapping around her. Ma Lin's eyes showed astonishment, only seeing a violent snowstorm directly pounce over. Lin Yingmei revealed herself in that snowstorm, the Arctic Star Serpent's spear releasing an arresting ice cold. The blizzard immediately strengthened, blowing the thick, green cliff into disarray, freezing the thread bamboo's song. Ma Lin produced stifled alarm. The majestic star panther head Lin Chong. Yellow rank spear technique. Long blizzard nights. In front of the Jade Alum Palace. 5 Poisons Mountains Front Mountain. With sheer cliffs and precipitous rock faces everywhere, similar to a deep well, the middle was a valley with a range 100 li in size. Inside the valley, the black light of a serene magic energy was dazzling, messy yet contained. Inserted into the ground were countless poles of large and small long banners. Demi-soldiers by the hundreds upon thousands clutched banners in their hands that they incessantly waved. These banners depicted poison snakes, poison scorpions, poison toads, poison spiders, poison centipedes and such, each an extremely poisonous figure. All of the demi-soldiers were arranged in concentric rings, forming a mysterious 5 poisons array ring. Under the drilling of several demi-kings, they endlessly operated the 5 poisons mountains forbid dance. They heard a bang, and the 5th ring's poison spider banner suddenly disintegrated. Immediately afterwards, the 5 poisons forbid dance shattered into tiny pieces. The expression of the demi-king Ponzi operating the poison spider banner turned extremely unsightly. Ha, ha, old lady Ponzi, it appears that your 1,000 spiders cave is merely so. An imposing man burst into laughter. Did you not say 1,000 spiders cave had a very frightening 1,000 corpse queen spider? How was it not the least bit useful? Demi-queen Ponzi showed venomous fangs of jade light. From the Jade Alum Palace came a cold shout. The queen has orders. The demi-soldiers are to defend Gecko Cliff, too, and all demi-kings are to be on call. The remaining people are to maintain the forbid dance. 5 poisons mountains toxic gases were thick, and the demi-soldiers were not at all too numerous. Besides the nearly 1,000 demi-soldiers raised for the 5 poisons mountain forbid dance great array, there were also the 5 poisons demi-kings. It was probable that ordinary sects would be inferior to this sort of battle array, but 5 Poisons Mountain was like an approaching great enemy, each one nervous and uneasy. I will go kill that person. Demi-King Ponzi furiously roared. She abruptly threw out an artifact, and her escape light went far away. On the Jade Alum Palace, Lady Snake Scorpion sighed. Dripping with fragrant sweat, she had not expected that the cultivators from the Azure Dragon territory would be this formidable. Everything of the 5 poisons had broke. Although she had already anticipated this speed still greatly exceeded Lady Snake Scorpion's expectations. If this was the case, they would reach her very soon. At that time, it would be too late. Little Diao, Little Chan, can you still use your Heaven Earth Dark Yellow skill? Lady Snake Scorpion asked. No problem, Mother. The twins replied in unison. These cultivators are courting death. Just let them die. Little Diao showed an ominous glint. It was not out of the question for even the Heaven Earth Dark Yellow skill to be able to handle Supervoid cultivators. Lady Snake Scorpion nodded, her heart a little bit calmer, immediately assigned someone to inform the Great King. Zhongqi, we will depend on you for that Enviless of the East. Zhongqi expressionlessly nodded. His body shook and flashed, and then he disappeared without a trace. The others are to immediately guard the Jade Alum Palace. Little Diao, Little Chan, we are going to Gu Hall. Lady Snake Scorpion looked at the mirror in her hand. In the pitch dark, it revealed the savage scene of a massacre. Occasionally, there were light flashes that reflected the hair-raising and disgusting scene within. A gigantic 100-chi-long centipede, 1,000-corpse queen spider, poison pythons, giant ants, strange apes, black beetles, etc. of countless odd insects and monsters each were in mutual slaughter, consuming one another, completely ferocious. The close-quarters battle within gradually turned faint, and clearly, the final, Gu, was about to be born. The so-called Gu was created by placing countless demon bugs together for mutual massacre, and the final one left became the Gu. However, Lady Snake Scorpion's 10,000-year Gu was completely different. Starting the moment that the star generals were born, it relied on the powers of poison stars Xia Bao and Xia Zhen to envelop and exert every sort of array and materials with 5 poisons mountains geography to make each kind of Gu more savage than at any other time. Furthermore, this type of fierce fighting would continuously persist for 10 years, thus it was a 10,000-year Gu. 3. The 10,000-year Gu reportedly was a unique poison creature, the toxicity of which was enough that even transforming Star of Annihilation level cultivators were incapable of blocking. For this reason did it have such a fierce name. In order to plan and prepare for these matters, Lady Snake and Scorpion had already prepared for a very long time. Naturally, she was unwilling to fail at the very end for lack of effort. Xie Diao and Xie Chan followed behind her, seemingly sensing their mother's grimness. They tightly covered their mouths, not uttering a word. Outside Thousand Spiders Canyon, however exceptionally tranquil, the poison gases had lessened considerably. This place lacked the vicious danger of the 5 poisons to the front. On the contrary, every sort of poison flower and grass grew everywhere. These poison grasses were supreme-grade poison materials that had passed through the nurturing of the 5 poisons. A group of people now currently paced endlessly back and forth on this grassland. Enviless of the East coldly looked ahead. The several galaxy stage cultivators that experienced life and death to reach those poison flowers and grasses could not help but be overjoyed at this unexpected good news. Continuously gathering them, they seldom wasted this much energy to come here. Naturally, they would not miss this opportunity. They might as well since they no longer dared to wish for that 10,000-year Gu. When the time came to go to the Jade Alum Palace, looting would not be bad either. These cultivators indeed are naive, shall we eradicate them right now? Ancestor Longevity showed a thoughtful smile. Enviless of the East beside him snorted. Glancing around, he noticed that the cultivators that had passed the 5 poisons unexpectedly numbered more than a dozen. These numbers actually were not few, however, how could these cultivators have ever realized that catastrophe was already imminent? These sect founders that used underhanded means to make these cultivators into scapegoats naturally would not permit them to go out and ruin their reputations. Destroying corpses and erasing traces was a very easy affair. Watch them closely for now. Is there not still that gecko glyph? At that time, it will do to have those demi-kings slaughter them. Enviless of the East coldly said. If a cultivator seizes the chance to escape? Ancestor Longevity asked as if he had a deeper meaning. The Xian Zhenzi and Queen Lady of Ice beside them also glanced at them. The former was aloof while the latter wrinkled her brows, doing this is rather too treacherous. The Queen's words are in air. If the Queen does not fear those scattered star cultivators going out and arbitrarily speaking, then the Queen can let them go. Ancestor Longevity laughed. There is a female disciple willing to follow this palace. This palace will not act. Queen Lady of Ice harumphed. Lady Ice, do not speak nonsense. We cannot brave this risk. Enviless of the East bluntly said. Queen Lady of Ice's eyes had a trace of dissatisfaction. If this palace had known this beforehand, this palace would not have come. Everyone had better not raise internal strife. Taoist Master Xian promptly walked over to mediate. The top priority is still to go to that 10,000-year Gu. Five Poisons Mountain still has several thousand demi-soldiers and the 5 great demi-kings. That lady snake scorpion also will not be easy to handle. Although we have already passed this 5 poisons, indeed we cannot lower our guard. Enviless of the East nodded, we also cannot have contempt for that rock demon king. And, as for these scattered star cultivators, worry about them if they can make it past the 10,000-year goo. Enviless of the East looked at Queen Lady of Ice. Lady Ice, how about it? Humph. Queen Lady of Ice fanned a sleeve, turned and walked towards a female cultivator. Ancestor Longevity specially glanced at that female cultivator. She was merely galaxy early stage, but she had grown to have bright eyes and white teeth and was actually very cute. In the star energy of her whole body, there was the faint appearance of an icy chill. It seemed she cultivated a cold ice secret technique. It was no wonder that Queen Lady of Ice would feel this encounter was fate. Enviless of the East did not look further. In his eyes, whatever kindred spirits was a joke. How have the Red Lotus Fairy, Lingbo Fairy, Taoist Master Qinglian and Ancestor Qianli not arrived yet? Enviless of the East was annoyed. These words had just fallen. A red silhouette rushed out from the cave, instantly arriving onto the plains. Red muslin covered her body, karma fire was all over her body, and her legs tread on red lotuses. She was the Red Lotus Fairy. Red Lotus Fairy. And the Lingbo Fairy? Xian Zhenzi looked behind the Red Lotus Fairy. A moment later, there was only a panicked and uncertain youth, but no one else appeared. That woman died. Red Lotus Fairy expressionlessly replied. The great cultivators showed astonishment. Even the distant Queen Lady of Ice raised her eyebrows and could not help but walk over. The shifting flower sword sex Lingbo Fairy is very familiar with 5 Poisons Mountain and is at supercluster middle stage cultivation. How could she die like this? Ancestor Longevity chuckled, is this true? Could it be you suspect this immortal killed her? The Red Lotus Fairy scoffed. Just what happened? Enviless of the East questioned. The Red Lotus Fairy sneered, we were crossing the Toad Black River. Those cultivators suddenly revolted, and among them was a cultivator that unexpectedly was a star master. The Lingbo Fairy was struck into the Black River and thus died. What, a star master? Everyone was slightly stunned. What star general is that to be unexpectedly capable of confronting you two? Xian Zhenzi was endlessly amazed. The Red Lotus Fairy was unconcerned. With a self-mocking tone, if you knew what that star general was, you would not be this amazed. And just what star general was she? 5 Tigers General, Prestige Star Double Clubs Huyen Zhua. 5, the Red Lotus Fairy coldly spat. The ancestors all slightly drew in a breath. A chill reached from head to foot, and they looked at each other in dismay, frightened. Although they could think that there perhaps would be a star master in existence among the 100 galaxy cultivators that came to the Vermilion Bird territory, they did not anticipate it would be the ranked 8th Prestige Star Double Clubs Huyen Zhua. This indeed was a fiend star 5 tigers among the star generals, super ferocious, that when the second phase ended, the supercluster cultivators would find her hard to contend against. Red Lotus, is what you said true? Queen Lady of Ice sneered. Humph, of course it is true. Although she is a 5 tigers general, this immortal's Red Lotus karma fire is not that easy to handle. The Red Lotus Fairy had seemingly foresaw they would ask this. Hinting with her eyes, the youth trembling in fear that came with the Red Lotus Fairy walked over. This immortal knew you would believe your servant killed that woman. Ask him, then. In order to show this immortal's innocence, this immortal indeed wasted great time in order to protect him hereunto. The Red Lotus Fairy calmly answered. What is your name? Explain what you saw in detail. If you dare hide one word, your servant shall make you terror-stricken. Enviless of the East coldly eyed this youth. His cultivation was only galaxy middle stage, presuming he would not have dared to collude with the Red Lotus Fairy under his pressure. The youth was refined, but under the pressuring expressions of the ancestors, he still had been scared pale. His legs trembled, and he promptly said, "Your servant is Xie Chang'an, 6, a scattered star cultivator." What Senior Red Lotus Fairy said just now was absolutely true. Afterwards, they were struck by Senior's powers, using the jade pendant to escape. Enviless of the East closely stared at this Xie Chang'an, wanting to discern something from his face. The Red Lotus Fairy sneered in annoyance, "If you do not believe this immortal, then it will do for this immortal to leave right now. This immortal will leave it to all of you to go for this 10,000-year gu." Enviless of the East smiles, "There is significant concern." Enviless is only thinking of confirming clearly to give the Shifting Flower Sword sect an explanation. If an offense has been committed, then Enviless pleads for forgiveness. Enviless of the East, whatever you say goes. Who let your cultivation be the highest? The Red Lotus Fairy smiled insincerely. Enviless of the East did not mind and looked at Xie Chang'an. The youth's forehead dripped with cold sweat. His fear did not seem to be feigned. Enviless of the East smiled and suddenly slapped the youth's head. Xie Chang'an made an incredible scream and collapsed onto the ground, then ceased to breathe. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.